Hello and welcome back everyone, we Weeb Online and today I want to start a new series, What If Naruto Had an Explosive Harem Part 1. If you enjoyed this video, please give it a big thumbs up, and to watch more videos like this, subscribe to my channel and turn that bell notification on so you never miss an upload. Now wasting no more time, let's begin.
The mind is a sensitive organ. The mind can be a potent tool and source of strength if one possesses a strong will, as well as a healthy dose of resolve and fortitude. However, if someone with a fragile disposition is sufficiently harmed emotionally, mentally, and possibly physically, their mind can break into many fragments that would be difficult to reconstruct. As previously stated, the mind is a sensitive organ. Many years ago, a young boy who was sweet and kind was so severely hurt that the tiny thread holding his mind together snapped. This young, impoverished boy lost his sanity, and not even advice from the good-hearted Inoichi Yamanaka could restore it. A young child named Naruto Uzumaki developed a mental illness called dissociative identity disorder, or multiple personality disorder as it is more widely known. He was beaten so severely by the heartless, vicious people of Konoha when he was 8 years old that he wished for his death. To the horror of the doctors who sincerely wanted to help the poor boy, he attempted suicide in the hospital a few days later. A man who loved young Naruto, Hiruzen Sarutobi, was also appalled by Naruto's suicide attempt. To everyone's surprise, however, the Kyuubi's chakra, a beast that was born inside Naruto, covered him and started to heal him. More importantly, however, the Kyuubi came out of Naruto's seal in a human body, as nude as the day she was born, and started to run her fingers softly through Naruto's golden, spiky hair. She informed the Hokage and those he trusted that she had both awoken Naruto's special Kekkei Genkai and saved his life. Nevertheless, she also clarified that Naruto's once strong mind was now broken. Naruto had a totally different personality when he regained consciousness. In comparison to his previous self, he behaved, spoke, and even moved differently. It was only a slight difference at first, but as Naruto gained confidence, he became louder and frequently shouted instead of just speaking what he wanted to say. The fact that Naruto was able to use elements they were not familiar with, however, was even stranger. Explosion, slag, corrosive, flame, shock, radiation, and ice are the names Naruto gave them. He was only allowed to use one element at a time, and his personality would change based on which element he was using. Inoichi was diagnosed with dissociative identity disorder because it would be like speaking to several distinct people who were all physically present. But when he began using the power of explosion to pull some interesting pranks, it soon became clear which personality was dominant. Hiruzen found it fascinating that Naruto had total control over his abilities and could create explosions of any size he wanted. Naruto could destroy anything, make an explosion anywhere, or do anything else he wanted as long as he could see it. He also showed a similar level of control over his other elements. Hiruzen was initially hesitant to enroll Naruto in the academy alongside the clan heirs his own age. He was aware that the faculty did not like Naruto and would probably attempt to undermine him in some way, but that was not his main concern. Because Naruto was literally insane, he might struggle to understand things like history or written exams. Oh no, he wasn't stupid. In actuality, Naruto was quite smart. However, he would probably alienate himself with his actions, and his prominent personality could be difficult for others to deal with. Iruka started his lesson for the day, and the Hokage watched through his crystal ball with a quiet sigh. Naruto Uzumaki was seated in the back row next to a girl named Hinata Hyuga. The young Uzumaki had been broken by the attack years earlier, and now he was finally going to get his headband. Neither liking nor disliking Naruto, Iruka appeared to treat him in an impartial manner. He didn't hold the Kyuubi against the young man and gave him a fair shot in his classes. He simply didn't care about Naruto, though, so he didn't give a damn whether Naruto succeeded or failed. As he recalled dealing with Mizuki and the other teachers who dared to attempt to undermine the poor boy, Hiruzen scowled and shook his head. The third made every effort to give Naruto a fair chance at passing and becoming a proud Konohagakure shinobi. Fortunately, Naruto had been taught everything he needed to know to become a great shinobi by the Kyuubi, who had revealed her identity as Kiyomi. As demonstrated by her treatment of Mizuki after she and Hiruzen discovered that he was a traitor to the village, she had also shown herself to be a competent agent of death, if necessary. You're going to be an incredible shinobi, Naruto, boy. The academy. When Naruto noticed Sasuke heading for his seat, he smiled mischievously. The genin hopefuls around him looked at him in disgust as Naruto whispered, "Explosion," and caused a small explosion to appear beneath Sasuke's butt as soon as he went to sit down. "Ew!" exclaimed one of the girls. "Did you just crap your pants?" Hinata chuckled as she glanced at Naruto. She smirked and said, You're never going to get tired of that, are you, Naruto-kun? The blonde gave her a sweet little tilt of the head while staring into her eyes. Explosion? Like the rest of the class, the gorgeous 16-year-old Hyuga burst out laughing once more and gave him a cheek kiss, which caused him to flush. You're too cute, Naruto-kun. Naruto blushed even more, nodded slowly, and then said, explosion. He grinned proudly. But when Sasuke charged at Naruto and seized him by the collar of his jacket, their brief moment was ruined. Stop pulling that shit with me, you stupid doby, it's not funny. Sasuke released the Uchiha and grasped at his nose after Naruto merely grinned at him and caused an explosion to occur on the tip of his nose. Damn it, what the hell is wrong with you? When Sasuke withdrew his hands, the blonde with the blue eyes smiled once more and gave him a nose boop. He jumped on top of his desk and pointed at Kiba, causing an explosion that destroyed the chair he was sitting on. Boopy. Explosion. Explosions are fun. Must. Make. Explosions, he exclaimed. Explosion. Kiba glared up at Naruto after he recovered from his initial shock. Damn it. Stop doing that. Do you know how many times we've had to replace my damn chair? Explosion. Be happy with the power of EXPLOOYONS. Naruto responded with a simple, wise nod. Iruka entered and sighed as he once again observed the mayhem taking place in his classroom. He shook his head, glanced at his partner, Tenzo, an Anbu agent, and gestured to Kiba. Naruto's done it again, if you will. After giving a nod, the Anbu started building Kiba a new chair. After that, he gave Naruto a brief glance before moving aside to let Iruka start. He looked directly at Naruto and shook his head, pitying whoever ended up on a team with the crazy teen. Okay, when I call your name, come forward and take your headband. Afterwards, I'll announce the teams. I hope Kami will be kind to his teammates. However, Kami's adversaries will most likely be more deserving of his pity than his teammates. Iruka grinned and started going through the list of teams after a while, when everyone had their headbands tied to different parts of their bodies. As he continued to make tiny explosions appear on his desk to a tune that only he could hear and understand, Naruto was mostly not paying much attention. However, he tuned in and listened to Iruka's words when he reached Team 7. Team 7 is Sasuke Uchiha, Sakura Haruno, and Choji Akamichi. Your sensei is Kakashi Hitaki. Fair warning, he's going to show up late, so you might want to do something in the meantime. Go get lunch, play shogi, whatever you want to do to pass the time, Iruka replied. Team 8 is Kiba Inuzuka, Hinata Hyuga, and Shikamaru Nara. Your sensei is Kurenai Yuhi. Kiba, I suggest that you treat your female teammates with respect, because Kurenai will not tolerate your behavior. At first, Kiba was thrilled to be on a team with Hinata Hyuga, the teenage beauty. But before he realized that their sensei was a woman, he initially questioned whether she was attractive. In other words, she lacked the knowledge and expertise that a male sensei would possess. She would simply impede his progress. Yes, everybody, Kiba the sexist. When Hinata learned she would not be joining Naruto's team, she pouted. Pooey. I desired a relationship with Naruto-kun. He's hilarious. Better than the perverted mutt it loads. Finally, Team 10 is Naruto Uzumaki, Ino Yamanaka, and Shino Aburame. Your sensei is Asuma Sarutobi. Naruto, please try and behave for him. Naruto ignored Iruka and turned to face his teammates, a hooded male named Shino, and a pretty adolescent named Ino. He recognized Ino right away when he saw the odd markings on her skin. She was a siren. She is similar to Kiyomi-chan and Hinata-chan. With excitement, he thought. Does she have the ability to create amazing explosions? Yes, both Kiyomi, the Kyuubi, and Hinata Hyuga were sirens with magical abilities. Hinata possessed the phase walk ability, which let her travel to a different plane of existence and then reappear in a different location a few seconds later. He wasn't considering that at the moment, but there was more to the ability than that. In contrast, Kiyomi possessed the phase trance ability. She was able to use her ethereal limbs, typically arms or fists, for a number of purposes whenever she felt like it. She had the ability to strike the ground with a fist, cause it to rise beneath an adversary, launch them into the air, and then use that same limb to slam the enemy into the ground. Additionally, she had the ability to project an astral energy that would harm anything in its path. Alternatively, she could conjure several arms and jump high before slamming her fists into the ground, producing a huge shockwave that, depending on the element she used, would inflict various kinds of damage. Of course, phase trance was capable of more than Hinata, but that wasn't crucial at the moment. Curious, he stared at Ino, wondering what ability she possessed and what she could do with it. He said, nodding his head a few times as though his words made any sense at all. Phase. Explosion. When Hinata finally realized that Ino was a siren like her, she glanced at Ino and then at Naruto. She wasn't surprised that he was only now learning about Ino's siren abilities, though, because his mind was constantly racing and he rarely paid much attention to anyone. However, it was a little unsettling that Ino would be on a team with her Naru-kun. It was not to her liking. Sensing that someone was watching her, Ino looked up at Naruto for a brief moment, meeting his gaze. She had hoped to be with Sasuke, but she didn't have a problem with either of her teammates. She smiled at Naruto and shrugged it off, then turned back to the front of the classroom. Before leaving the classroom with Tenzo in tow, Iruka gave Naruto a quick glance from behind his mask and said, "Okay everyone, that's all. Do what you want to kill time while you're waiting for your senseis to fetch you. Make the village proud." After Iruka had left the room, Kiba made the decision to approach Hinata. Well, looks like we're gonna be teammates, Hina-chan. What say we get to know each other a little better, preferably away from this nutcase?" As Kiba fell to his knees and let out a cry of agony, Hinata ignored him and pushed her palm into his stomach without even looking. Rather, she turned to face Naruto and gave him a wink. "I had hoped we'd be on the same team, Naruto-kun, but I guess that was too much to hope for. I'll be thinking of you though. I'll definitely make you proud. I hope you'll be thinking of me as well." Naruto looked into her eyes and tilted his head in a cute way once more. He smiled sweetly at her and said, "Yes, Hinata-chan is my friend. I'll make explosions for you." Hinata nodded her head in agreement while giggling. "I'm glad to hear it. Now, I have a question for you. Do you think you could blow off Kiba's nuts? I'd rather not deal with such a horndog if I don't have to." The blonde with the spiky hair gave Kiba a long look before nodding. "Explosions. Please don't, I need my package if I'm to have any children someday. You understand, right Naruto? Please don't do it," Kiba yelled as his eyes widened. "Explosions?" asked Naruto, scowling. Hinata shook her head and sighed. "I suppose that would be kind of cruel. Alright, change of plans, Naruto-kun. Use your flame element to burn off his hair." "How is that any better?" Kiba, horrified, cried. "Now you're just being cruel to me. What did I ever do to you to deserve this?" Hinata looked up at him and furrowed her brow. "You've been hitting on me since day one. You're rude and disrespectful, especially towards women. I've got to teach you a lesson somehow. So unless you want my Naruto-kun to remove what makes you a man, or remove your hair or whatever else he can think of, you'll leave me alone. Do you understand me, Kiba?" she asked, beaming with affection. Kiba gave a quick nod, then hurried back to his chair and sat down without shifting an inch. Kiba sagged with amusing tears running down his cheeks after Akamaru merely barked at him a few times. He clearly suffered an invisible blow to his ego from whatever his dog had said to him. With a radiant smile, Hinata turned to face Naruto and touched his leg. "Remember, Naruto-kun. If you ever need anything, I'll be there for you. If your teammates upset you in any way, feel free to set off a few explosions to keep them in line. And if that whore comes onto you, let me know so I can personally deal with it, okay?" Although Naruto wasn't entirely sure what she was discussing, he eventually nodded and smiled at her. "Explosions will happen. I like explosions." She reached up, gave him a few pats on the cheek, then grinned and said, emphasizing the word, "Everything, that's a good boy. Remember, if you ever need anything, I'm always here for you." Hearing their exchange, Ino scowled at Hinata's obvious attempt to woo the madman. She also found it annoying that if she and Shino did something wrong, Hinata would order Naruto to discipline them. "Hello, Naruto. I know we haven't talked much before. Or ever, but I hope we can get along well and be good teammates." Ino walked over to them, sat down on Naruto's side, and asked, if you don't mind my asking, why do you like explosions so much?" Naruto shrugged his shoulders and raised an eyebrow. He turned to Sasuke, pointed, and detonated a tiny explosion at the tip of his nose once more. "I don't know. I like explosions because they're explosions. They're fun to watch and fun to make. See? Explosions are fun." Ino initially wanted to be angry with him for torturing her, Sasuke-kun, but she changed her mind and asked him another question instead. "Okay, so they're fun. How exactly do you make all these explosions? Do you have to do something special to make them work? Or do they just happen?" Hinata shook her head and met Ino's eyes. "As far as I can tell, so long as Naruto-kun can see something, he can make explosions happen. The same with his other abilities. So long as he can see it, he can do whatever he wants to it. In this case, making explosions that destroy chairs or irritate somebody's nose. He also has full control over how big or small an explosion can be. As for your earlier question about why he likes explosions so much, it's just his personality. What you're seeing now is his dominant personality, the one that's active the most. He has 5 other personalities that he switches between whenever he's using another element. He has dissociative identity disorder. At least that's what your dad calls it. After blinking a few times, Ino turned back to face Naruto. That's rare. Do you have any idea what might have caused such a thing? Hinata nodded her head and said, Naruto-kun knows, but he hasn't said anything to me about it. I can't help but wonder what happened in the past to break him in such a way. Then Naruto had a flash of insight and said, I'm not broken. Just different. Explosions for life. Hinata gave her best friend a loving pat on the cheek while grinning at him. You're right. I shouldn't have used that word. You're a special person, Naruto Uzumaki, and I love you for it, she replied. Do you mean love in that way? Or just as a friend? Ino asked, blinking. What do you think? The Hyuga merely asked, grinning at Ino. Ino blushed a little and gave a few understanding nods before turning back to face Naruto. Well, it's okay to be different from other people. Like Hinata said, you're special the way you are. I still don't get the whole explosions thing, but I won't fault you for it. While Hinata stood up and gently took Ino's hand before guiding her back to her seat, Naruto merely grinned at her and said, Thank you, Ino. Not many people accept Naruto-kun as he is. Treat him right. Okay. I'm trusting you to watch out for him. Whether it's in training or on missions, look after him, alright? At first, Ino was a little perplexed, but she couldn't help but smile when she saw Naruto again. Alright. I can promise that. He seems like a nice guy. Kind of silly in a way, but nice all the same. Hinata gave Naruto a kind grin as she turned to face him. He's special. I don't know what he's been through in the past, but I want to make sure he smiles no matter what. I have this horrible feeling that he's been hurt in the past, and I don't like it. Nobody should ever hurt a child. The stunning blonde turned back to Hinata after giving Naruto a comforting grin. I'll do what I can to help out. Naruto seems really nice. And don't worry about me stealing him away from you or something. You know well enough how I feel about Sasuke-kun. After giving Sasuke a brief glance, Hinata turned to smile at Naruto. She said, I don't get your fascination with that boy. He's arrogant and mean. So many fangirls and he doesn't pay any of them the time of day. I understand that he's the last of his clan and all that, but yeah, I just don't see the appeal. She shrugged and walked back to Naruto's side, leaving Ino alone. She took his hand in hers and used her thumb to rub the back of it as she sat down next to him. Everything will be okay, Naruto-kun. Naruto blinked a few times, perplexed. He simply smiled at her without saying anything. He felt as though everything was fine when Hinata returned his smile. The majority of the genin hopefuls had been picked up by their senseis earlier, and they were gone about 30 minutes later. The senseis for teams 8 and 10 had now shown up and summoned their teams. Naruto and Hinata got up together and walked down to meet their senseis while still holding hands. Asuma raised an eyebrow when he saw them holding hands, but Kurenai simply grinned at their apparent strong bond. Asuma smiled kindly and said, Hello Naruto. Hello Hinata. It's nice to see you two getting along so well. It's a shame you two couldn't be on the same team, huh? Naruto just gave him a nod before casting an inquisitive glance over Kurenai. She had the same markings he had seen on Ino and Hinata. She's also a siren. Kurenai merely gave the young man a smile before turning to face Hinata. Then she said, Hinata-chan. She gave Kiba and Shikamaru a friendly nod before stating, All right, Team 8, let's go. When he had to release Hinata's hand, Naruto scowled. It was pleasant to hold and felt warm. He gazed into Asuma's eyes after she had gone, then noticed the cigarette in his mouth. As Asuma's cigarette was subjected to an explosion, he laughed to himself and yelled, Smoking's bad for you. Let's see an explosion. Asuma's eyes grew wide as he gazed at his priceless cigarette, or rather, what was left of it, after it fell to the ground in fragments. He whispered to himself, So, that's your power. I'll have to keep that in mind from now on. Anyways, Team 10? Let's go. Ichiraku ramen. Asuma watched in horror as Naruto consumed ramen bowl after bowl. It was astonishing that he was still able to be so polite given how much and how quickly he ate. It's peculiar. He doesn't seem to care that he's eating so much. I can only imagine the chaos that would result if it were Choji. Okay, now that we've all had our fill, Let's start with some introductions, Asuma said after everyone had finished eating. Before you ask, my name is Asuma Sarutobi, and yes, I am the Hokage's son. I like the taste and smell of cigarettes, he said, giving Naruto a stern look. He shrugged his shoulders and remarked, anyway, putting that aside, I like shogi, various kinds of meat, and kurenai. It's a shame she doesn't feel the same way about me. He gave Naruto a slight glare and remarked, anyway, I dislike when people screw with my cigarettes. Try to keep that in mind, Naruto. I also dislike people being rude jerks. As for hobbies, I guess shogi would be one. I enjoy playing against members of the Nara clan, as they always provide a good challenge. And dreams? I'd love to marry Kurenai someday and start a family with her. Sadly, I don't see that happening anytime soon. Smoke is offensive to my senses. I don't like it, Naruto said, smiling at Asuma. The sensei from Team 10 gave Naruto a brief frown before nodding. Asuma sighed and rubbed the back of Naruto's head after observing his nod in agreement. I see. You've got hyper-enhanced senses, don't you? Alright. I guess I'll have to refrain from smoking around you. Sorry, Naruto. With a simple smile, Naruto said, explosions. Alright, since you're so talkative, let's hear your introduction. This should be interesting, Asuma said, grinning at Naruto while laughing. He declared, I'm Naruto Uzumaki. I really like explosions. Before blowing off a nearby woman's dress with his power, leaving her in her underwear. Naruto chuckled to himself as she screamed and fled, then turned back to face Asuma. He nodded wisely and said, explosions. He repeated, I like Hinata-chan too. She's really nice and she also likes my explosions. Before causing a nearby roof's corner to blow up. Asuma raised his hand and said, stop. I get it, you love explosions. Please stop blowing things up for the time being, before Naruto could continue to make more haphazard explosions. At that, the young man with the spiky hair scowled pitifully before nodding in comprehension. I enjoy having different personalities. We're all so much fun. What do I dislike? I don't like. I don't like being hurt. I don't like remembering that day. At this, Ino scowled and put a soft hand on top of Naruto's. It's okay, Naruto, go on. With a grateful nod, Naruto said, hobbies? I like making explosions. To the relief of his team, Naruto avoided making anything explode this time. I enjoy spending time with Hinata-chan too. She likes me. She understands me. Dreams are next, right? Well, I don't know. I just want to be myself. I want people to accept me. I want to keep making explosions too. Shino raised his eyebrows and replied, acceptance. I understand the logic behind that all too well. We Aburame wish for acceptance as well, but we are ostracized for being different. For what it's worth, I accept you as you are, Naruto Uzumaki. Naruto gave Shino a radiant smile and said, explosions. Before realizing this was Naruto's way of saying, thank you, the bug user was perplexed. He chose to introduce himself next, shrugging it off. I am Shino Aburame. I like those who do accept me. I also like insects of all kinds. I dislike those who mistreat insects. I also dislike being treated like a freak of nature. My hobbies include studying new insects and incorporating new insects into my hive. I do not have a big dream like others might. I do like the idea of being the future clan head of the Aburame clan. We can make explosions together. You're like an explosion, beautiful and artistic, Naruto said with a smile. After blinking a few times, Shino grinned at Naruto. Thank you, Naruto Uzumaki. You will be a good friend. Before choosing to take her turn, Ino grinned at the scene. I'm Ino Yamanaka. I like Sasuke-kun, my family and friends, training in my clan's techniques and more. I dislike Sakura. We used to be friends, but when we both fell for Sasuke-kun, she decided to call off our friendship. I was just a rival to her, getting in the way of nabbing Sasuke-kun for herself. I wanted to remain friends. But she stomped all over our supposed friendship and tossed me away like yesterday's trash. I also dislike when Sasuke-kun ignores me and treats me as if I'm just a bother to him. It really hurts. Ino sighed quietly and opened her mouth to speak again, but she felt a hand touch hers. She blushed a little at Naruto's smile as she looked at who owned the hand. Explosions will happen. You'll be okay. Ino burst out laughing and couldn't stop. She quickly added, you're sweet, Naruto-kun. She gave him a small squeeze to express her gratitude. My hobbies? I enjoy tending to plants of all kinds, especially flowers. I like flower pressing too. And my dream? I'd love to get married to Sasuke-kun, but I really don't see that happening. As Hinata said, he's arrogant and doesn't really care for anyone but himself. I know that, I really do, but... Squeezing her hand, Naruto scowled. Sasuke is a fool. Explosions are not for him. After a moment of bewildered frowning, the stunning blonde woman realized Naruto was attempting to lift her spirits. You may be different, Naruto-kun, but you really are a sweetheart. It's no wonder Hinata likes you so much, she said with a grateful smile. With a sly smile, Asuma gave Naruto a head pat. Keep this up and you'll turn into a real lady killer, Romeo. He smiled at his teammates and replied, meet at training ground number 10 tomorrow at 9 a.m. We'll be holding your true genin test then. Make sure to eat a hearty breakfast, all of you. You're going to be expending a lot of energy tomorrow, so you need to be well rested and have some food in your bellies to keep up your energy. Dismissed. Asuma disappeared before anyone could question him, leaving enough money to cover their meal. Explosion? Naruto asked his teammates after he had left. Should we try to formulate some kind of plan for our test? Or do you want to, how would you say it? Wing it? Shino asked, raising an eyebrow. After giving Naruto a long, serious look, Ino smiled at Shino. We'll make use of Naruto-kun's unpredictability. Rather than try to force him to follow some kind of plan, we'll let Naruto-kun do what he does best. Meanwhile, you and I will work together to ensure the three of us pass the test, no matter what. That plan was approved by the Aburame heir, who nodded. That seems like the most logical approach. Naruto, we're counting on you to create as many explosions as you want tomorrow. We may not know what Asuma-sensei's test will be, but I'm sure that you can pull off an easy victory. Explosions, yelled Naruto, smiling. A trash can exploded, sending its contents flying everywhere, and Ino and Shino jumped. That's going to take some getting used to for sure, Ino said, glancing at each other. Watching trash fall from the sky and litter the street below, Shino just nodded in agreement, indeed. The Uzumaki compound being at home made Naruto happy. After the event 8 years ago, Hiruzen had made the decision to give Naruto his inheritance at Kiyomi's insistence. He had previously lived in a rundown old apartment that was frequently vandalized by the scumbags in the village. This included having access to both their clan district residence and bank accounts. The fact that Naruto would be much safer in his parents' house than in that dingy apartment was what convinced Hiruzen to take this course of action. Almost immediately after entering the front door, he found himself ensnared in Kiyomi's embrace. She was a stunning woman who stood 6 feet tall, had high B-, low C-cup breasts, deep crimson eyes with slit pupils, and vivid red hair. She was a tall woman, to be sure, but she was only marginally taller than Naruto, who was 5 feet 10 inches. My dear Naru. Welcome home. Have you had a pleasant day? She clung to him and asked. Naruto grinned as he gave her a hug in return. He genuinely liked Kiyomi, but he wasn't sure what she meant to him. Not a mother figure, more like a sister figure, but he felt something else that he couldn't quite place. He only knew that she was very important to him and that he couldn't imagine his life without her. He smiled as he looked into her eyes and declared, explosions rule. With a laugh, Kiyomi remarked, they definitely do. Let's get you something to eat, come on. Over dinner, you can tell me everything about your team. Does that sound good? After a little while they were eating, Naruto met Kiyomi's gaze and said, my teammates are Shino Aburame and Ino Yamanaka. Although I'm not sure of her abilities, Ino is also a siren. She's fond of buttface. I'm not sure why people find him appealing. He is not a fan of explosions. She asked, frowning slightly, isn't she one of his fangirls? Kiyomi sighed and shook her head in shock when she saw Naruto nod in agreement. A siren being a fangirl for buttface Uchiha. It's really disappointing. Please let me know if anything she says or does ever affects you. I'll correct the girl. It would be unwise for any proud siren to hang around with Buttface. Buttface appeared agitated when I exploded her nose. She didn't find my explosions funny, didn't even grin. I made a lot of explosions at the ramen place in an attempt to make my teammates laugh, however, they didn't chuckle. They were not smiling. It was depressing. Before embracing him tightly and cradling his face between her breasts, Kiyomi said, it'll be all right. Your exquisite artwork is not understood by everyone. If you give them enough time, I'm sure they'll change their mind. You can just sick me on them if they don't. Okay, Naru-kun. Naruto nodded and gave Kiyomi a simple hug in return, saying calmly, thank you, After a little while of this, Kiyomi heard him snoring and burst out laughing. "You stupid fool." She lifted him into her arms and carried him up to his bedroom so he could get some much-needed rest after saying, "You've exhausted yourself. You deserve far better than the lot you've been handed in life," she sighed, looking down at his serenely sleeping face. "My dear Naruto-kun, you must be treated well by your team. I will never again allow anyone to hurt you because I love you so much." Leaving him in his dreams, Kiyomi left his room and made the decision to go visit someone, so she left the Uzumaki compound and headed for her destination, knocked on the door, waited for it to open, and then looked at the man in front of her and said, "We need to talk." "Come on in," said the man, an elderly blonde with his hair pulled back in a ponytail, nodding. "This must be related to Naruto and my little Ino-chan, right?" The man, now known as Inoichi Yamanaka, moved aside to let the Kyuubi into his house, and after they were inside, he accompanied her to the living room and sat down next to his wife. Kiyomi took a seat next to him and said, "As you know, Naruto-kun is fragile. He struggles to attempt normal conversation with others because he is socially awkward. The situation is complicated. Additionally, Naruto has been assigned to a team with your daughter, as you have undoubtedly already heard. She is a butt-face Uchiha fangirl, and I'm afraid she might say something in the future that would offend my Naru. She could do him harm, and I can't have that. Never again." Inoichi's wife Setsuna gave a sorrowful nod and remarked, "Kiyomi-san, I absolutely understand. My daughter's alleged feelings for Sasuke can be a little too much. Her siren ability has also been neglected in favor of dieting and doing whatever she can to attract Sasuke's attention, and she hasn't taken her training very seriously. Because they both became interested in Sasuke at the same time, she lost her best friend. To make things worse, Sasuke treats our little girl like trash and is extremely rude to everyone. I'm not sure why she finds him so fascinating. If Asuma doesn't beat that mindset out of her, I will," Kiyomi said with a frown after learning that Ino had been ignoring her training as a siren in a kunoichi. "I will not allow a fellow siren to be helpless and unable to protect herself. I will therefore issue an ultimatum to you. Make sure she stops being a fangirl and begins acting like a real kunoichi, or I'll do it for you. And believe me when I say that I will work her so hard that she will cry and beg you to stop me when she gets home." After their eyes widened slightly, Inoichi and his wife nodded in agreement. "Very well. If it's not possible to fix her, we'll put you in charge of shaping her. Try not to break our little girl, please. Would you please?" Inoichi hoped she wouldn't be too harsh on his young daughter. "I wouldn't break her," the red-headed siren said, shaking her head. "I would demolish her and rebuild her. Even though she will be stronger and better than ever, she will still be your little girl. I'm also hoping that she'll be friends with Naru. Unbelievably, he is somewhat lonely and has far too few of them. He may be vivacious and a little crazy, but that doesn't mean he doesn't feel lonely. There is only so much that I and Hinata-chan, the elderly man, can do for him." "We understand," Setsuna said with a smile. "We'll try our best to assist Naruto-kun. I'm hoping that Ino-chan will be receptive to the prospect of becoming Naruto-kun's new pal. I hope she realizes that he isn't cruel, crazy, or anything. Simply put, he's different. He is unique. They could make a great friendship, and I have no doubt that she will come to like him. Although I'm pretty sure you and Hinata-chan already feel that way about him, I wouldn't try to force them to date, but I would like for them to get close anyhow." At this, Inoichi grinned and remarked, "I wouldn't be shocked if she also fell for him. Things will never be dull with Naruto-kun around because he is a sweet child despite everything he has been through. Furthermore, if necessary, he can easily defend his friends and family thanks to the strength of his Kekkei Genkei. Many women, and occasionally even men, desire the idea of having someone large and powerful to protect them." "Believe me," Kiyomi said with a sly smile. "My Naru-kun cannot be stopped by anyone else in the elemental nations. With more training, he will become an unstoppable force that is truly to be reckoned with. And I will support him even if something does occur that he cannot manage or control. Naruto-kun and his abilities are ideal for us sirens." Inoichi asked, gazing into Kiyomi's eyes, "Kiyomi-san, would you be willing to teach Ino-chan how to use her phase ability after we have corrected her mentality? Hers is called phase shift, I think." "I remember someone long ago that had that ability," the Kyuubi said, closing her eyes and humming to herself. "She won't find it easy, but I can train her. She needs to start training seriously and have a strong mental fortitude. Make her understand that training is more important than dieting, and assign her to read a range of library books. Additionally, she ought to learn how to meditate and purge her mind of all superfluous ideas. However, once more, everything depends on her and her decisions." Inoichi rubbed the back of his head and sighed. Yes. Well, Kiyomi-san, we'll try our best. We'll leave it to you if we don't succeed. In any case, it's getting late. We can walk you back to your house if you'd like. Kiyomi grinned at them and shook her head, saying, No, that won't be required. I appreciate the offer. Good night, you two. Kiyomi then left their home and started walking back to the Uzumaki compound where she and Naruto resided. My dear Naru, I promise you that nothing will ever harm you again. The morning after, good, you're all here, Asuma said with a smile to his team. He wanted to pull out a cigarette and light it desperately as he looked at the three of them, but he sighed and decided to just get on with it after realizing that Naruto would destroy it for shits and giggles. Okay team, here's what we're going to do, he said. All three of you will attempt to apprehend me. That is all there is to it. I'll run, hide, and defend myself. You want to disable me and prevent me from escaping. Your objective is to capture me, as I mentioned. You have 2 hours to complete this task. If you don't succeed, your career will terminate early. We will formally become a team and begin going on missions together if you are successful. However, let me warn you now. D ranks are annoying for several reasons. Taking a quick look at Naruto, Ino couldn't help but grin. Considering the skills he had demonstrated thus far, she thought, this is going to be fun. With Naruto on their side, she felt that they couldn't lose. I have no idea what to expect from you, Naruto. I'm going to need to be vigilant so you don't catch me off guard with whatever the hell you're going to do. Asuma studied his 3 genin for a moment before looking into Naruto's eyes. He sighed, then turned to face his team and placed 2 timers on the ground, setting one to 5 minutes and the other to 2 hours. He then turned back to his team and said, You'll start as soon as the first timer goes off. I wish you luck, he cried out before vanishing into the forest. After a brief glance at his teammates, Naruto turned to face the timers. Any explanations? Not yet, Naruto-kun, Ino said, shaking her head. You can make as many explosions as you like after the timer goes off. You should occupy Asuma with whatever skills you wish to employ while Shino and I attempt to restrain him. Acid, explosions, anything. The teenager with the spiky hair nodded and grinned broadly. Explosions, he shouted, but held back from detonating any bombs just yet. Ino glanced at her 2 teammates and said, Let's get started, after the 5 minutes had passed and the timer had started to go off. They then left. Asuma, poor Asuma, was going to discover the hard way why you don't cross a crazy Naruto Uzumaki, and he would later regret putting the psychotic Uzumaki up to such a challenge. Naruto could be heard shouting, EXPLOSION, as the village of Konoha was rocked by yet another large explosion. Oh dear Kami. Make it stop. For the love of all that's good, make it stop. Was the only sound that anyone could hear after the explosions rocked the village. He had already set off at least 30 enormous explosions. As Asuma ran like crazy from a deranged Naruto who kept pointing at his ass and making explosions follow him, giving the impression that he was farting out huge explosions, Ino and Shino could only perspire. At times, Asuma would be hurled forward by one of the explosions, only to be slammed into the ground by another explosion that sent him skyward. Shino? Should we help him? Then Shino raised an eyebrow and asked, Help who? Asuma-sensei or Naruto-san? Ino nodded, considering their options, and said, You make a good point. I'll deal with Naruto-kun. You check on Asuma-sensei. Shino rushed to Asuma's side after nodding in agreement with her plan. Shino quickly leapt to safety after picking him up and placed the smoker behind some bushes. Stay down, Asuma-sensei. Ino is going to try and calm Naruto down. With a moan of pain, Asuma uttered, So much pain. Shino stared at his wretched sensei and could only start to perspire once more. You do realize that this was a stupid plan, do you not, Asuma-sensei? You know what Naruto-san is like and yet you challenged him. Asuma just groaned in pain once more. Shino dismissed it and observed from behind the bushes as Ino moved toward Naruto, who was observing the area with interest. Ino walked up to her teammate and asked, Naruto-kun? It's me, Ino. Your friend. You don't need to chase Asuma-sensei anymore. Okay. There's no way he'll fail us after experiencing all of this. You did a good job. I'm proud of you, Naruto-kun. After giving her a brief, adorable head tilt, Naruto asked, Explosions? I did good. When he saw that Ino nodded, Naruto cheered and grinned broadly. Explosions. With a little giggle, Ino exclaimed, You did great, Naruto-kun. Thank you very much. The stunning blonde was taken aback when Naruto glomped onto her and pressed his cheek to hers. Explosions rule. You like my explosions? Thank you. Ino began to see Naruto's degree of brokenness at this point. She tentatively reached up and gave him a hug in return, stroking his back with her hand. I do. I like when you use your explosions to help us. Can you promise me something though? After blinking once or twice, Naruto leaned back and met her gaze. What do you need me to do, Ino-chan? Ino put a hand lightly on his cheek and started stroking the lines of his whiskers. She couldn't control the smile that spread across her face when he leaned into her hand and began purring. Promise me you'll only use your explosions to protect people, including yourself. It's okay if you want to use small explosions to pull pranks, because I know you enjoy doing that, but I want you to use your explosions in moderation. When we're out on missions, I trust you to know when the best time is to use your explosions. Inside the village though, I want you to be careful when using them. Okay. With a sorrowful frown, Naruto questioned, my explosions are bad? No, your explosions are a good thing. I just want you to use them to protect yourself and your friends instead of using them willy-nilly. Okay, Ino said, shaking her head rapidly. The crazy teenager calmly gazed into her eyes, then sighed and shook his head. Explosions hurt bad guys. They make the hurt go away. Explosions protect me. I like explosions. His words caused Ino's eyes to widen. Her mind started racing with all sorts of terrible ideas, but before she could even consider them, she was embracing Naruto tightly and burying his head in her abundant breasts. Oh, Naruto-kun. I'm so sorry. I didn't mean to hurt you like that. If explosions really mean that much to you, I won't try to stop you anymore, okay? I'm so sorry. Naruto gave her a hug and a reassuring pat on the back while blinking a few times. He couldn't understand why she was hugging him in this way, and he wondered what was causing her such distress. Right now, all he really knew was that he liked the way his head felt like a cushion for some reason. That, and he enjoyed the way she hugged him. When Shino and Asuma eventually emerged from their hiding spot, Asuma said, you might want to stop suffocating your little boyfriend there with your breasts, as they arrived at Ino and Naruto. After blinking and stepping back from Naruto, Ino pointed accusingly at Asuma. You pervert. Don't go talking about my breasts like that. And he's not my boyfriend. You know darn well that I want Sasuke-kun. Naruto was a little saddened by Ino's instant denial for reasons he couldn't fully comprehend. He scowled and attempted to interpret it, but he quickly dismissed it because it was inconsequential. He still harbored the persistent suspicion that there was something wrong with her actions and words. Asuma scowled as he returned his gaze to Ino's eyes, clearly observing Naruto's uneasiness. He left the other two men on the team and waited for her to follow him, gesturing for her to do so. Ino, you know Naruto's, What's a good word for this? Delicate. That works, I suppose. Regardless, Naruto sees you as a friend, and it's obvious that your immediate denial back there was kind of rude and hurtful. Naruto wants to be your friend, but if you do things like what you just did, you're only going to end up hurting him. Do you understand? After blinking a few times in disbelief, Ino turned to face Naruto, who was giggling as he made a circle of colorful explosions appear all around him. She shook her head and scowled back at Asuma. I don't mean to hurt him in any way. He's really sweet, in a crazy sort of way. But I stand by what I said. I like Sasuke-kun. With a sigh, Asuma briefly closed his eyes before re-entering her gaze. Just try to be careful with him. Naruto has been hurt by this village already. More than you could possibly imagine. He needs all the friends he can get, and I want you and Shino to be there for him as friends and teammates. Okay? As Ino observed Naruto conversing with Shino, her scowl grew. Asuma nodded, and she could feel the tears in her eyes. Is that why Daddy told me to look out for him? To protect him? She asked. How could the villagers hurt such a kind person so horribly? Why the hell would they do such a terrible thing to a child? With a sigh, Asuma cast a sorrowful glance at Naruto. Don't repeat what I'm about to tell you to anyone else. I could get in some serious trouble for telling you this, but Naruto is in no shape to tell you himself. Tell me, Ino, have you ever heard of Jinchuriki? Power of human sacrifice. Wait, after a few minutes of consideration, Ino's eyes grew wide. Don't tell me, he had the Kyuubi sealed inside of him? Asuma grinned at her deductive abilities. Correct. However, the Kyuubi is no longer sealed within Naruto. She is outside of the seal and is currently Naruto's caretaker. She cherishes him and does her very best to look after him. Sadly, the villagers and some of the ninja hate Naruto for what he held. Pops, the Hokage, was furious when he found out that somebody leaked news of Naruto's status to the entirety of the village. Our best guess is that Danzo Shimura is behind this action, but without proof. Ino turned to face Naruto with a frown. Asuma-sensei, she looked back into his eyes with a determined expression. Please train me to be the best kunoichi I could possibly be. Daddy and Mommy have set it up so I'll be learning to use my siren abilities properly, so I want you to make me the strongest kunoichi ever. I won't let anyone ever hurt Naruto-kun again. Asuma looked at her and replied, of course. I'm glad to hear that. The first thing you need to do is to stop dieting. You may want to be beautiful for Sasuke, but trust me when I say you don't need to diet to do that. Eat healthy, full meals and train your hardest. All carbs, fat, etc. will be burned as you train. And I'll need you to stop actively chasing Sasuke. I'm not saying you have to give up on him, but you'll need to focus on bettering yourself. I don't pretend to know how Sasuke thinks, but you'll have a better chance of winning him over if you become a capable kunoichi. The stunning blonde gave a sympathetic nod, but she still needed to pose a query. There's something I've been wondering, Asuma-sensei. Itachi spared Sasuke and his mother, Makoto Uchiha. I understand he's hurting because he lost so many of his clansmen and women. But he still has his mother. Why is he so cold to everyone? You'd think he'd like to rebuild his clan with a capable kunoichi. But it's like he has no interest in anyone but himself. It hurts to be brushed off like I don't matter. And he's so rude and mean to everyone. I don't understand it. So you can see Sasuke's faults. Sasuke was most likely never close to his mother. I doubt he cares much for her, if at all. All Sasuke ever wanted was the approval of his father, Fugaku Uchiha. The problem with that is that Fugaku was an asshole. With the loss of his father, Sasuke became a bitter, rotten little bastard. Sorry, I know you don't want to hear that, but he's inherited his father's attitude and demeanor. Anyways, Sasuke is arrogant and doesn't care about anyone but himself. Sighing softly, Asuma rubbed the back of his head, looked at Naruto. I think that, in his heart and mind, Naruto simply wanted to make Sasuke laugh and smile. It was a futile effort, and he went about it wrong, but he truly wanted to make him smile. Looking at her teammate, Ino scowled. Yes, I can see Sasuke's faults. I think part of why I like him is because he's the dark, broody type. There's something about him that just attracts a girl, but I don't know what it is or why. Naruto-kun on the other hand is like his polar opposite. Naruto-kun may be insane, but he's sweet as can be and only wants to make everyone smile and be happy. Hinata really seems to like him, maybe even love him, but for some reason, I just don't understand why. I don't understand my own feelings or my thoughts. Why'd I like Sasuke-kun? Why does Hinata like Naruto-kun? It's confusing. Asuma turned back to Ino and said, if you want to hear my opinion, I can give it to you. Ino nodded her head and met Asuma's eyes. I'd like to hear what you think, Asuma-sensei. The smoker grinned and said, good. I think you fell in with the crowd, adopting their mindset as your own. You didn't even try to think for yourself and ask yourself, why'd I like Sasuke? You just did. As for Naruto? Naruto was the unpopular prankster. He was weird and crazy and did whatever he felt like doing in the moment. Again, you fell in with the crowd and adopted the mindset of, Naruto is weird. No girl could ever like him. Do you understand? Unsure of how to react to what he had just told her, the blue-eyed girl gazed into Asuma's eyes. After giving it some thought, she realized that what he had just described was true. So, I never really liked Sasuke-kun. And Hinata sees something in Naruto-kun that nobody else can see? Asuma looked at her and replied, yes and yes. Don't get me wrong, you might discover some reasons to like Sasuke at some point. I don't know for sure, but it's possible. At the same time, you might actually come to appreciate Naruto for the kind of person he is. You might even develop something of a crush on him. Again, I don't know, but it is certainly possible. Now, let's rejoin our teammates and talk about what we'll be doing from here on out. Okay. Ino maintained a downward gaze as she and Asuma walked back towards Shino and Naruto. As she reviewed what Asuma had said, she was absorbed in her thoughts. When they arrived at Shino and Naruto, she looked up once more to see Naruto gazing at her with an inquisitive expression. Ino-chan. What's wrong? You seem not yourself. Ino shook her head and gave him a tiny smile. It's all right, Naruto-kun. I'm just thinking is all. Naruto chose to ignore it after merely nodding. Okay, explosions? He asked, turning to face Asuma. With a sigh, Asuma slowly nodded his head. You all pass. I'd be a fool to fail this team. We'll start taking D-rank missions until I feel we're ready for a C or higher rank mission. Fair warning, but D-rank missions are pretty bad. They're essentially chores that people are a bit too lazy to do. They're meant to promote teamwork and to give us time to train our teams until they're actually ready for a C-rank mission, but they're just bad. So I ask that you grin and bear it for the time being. Naruto exclaimed, "Explosions," as he caused a huge explosion to appear in the sky, giving the impression that fireworks had been set off. As they gazed at the odd scene, Ino and Shino both blinked a few times. Ino asked, "How the hell does he even do things like that?" Shino sighed and replied, "I would assume that it's best not to think about it. Logic doesn't really work when it comes to Naruto-san." With a small laugh, Asuma gestured for his group to follow him. "Come on, let's go get something to eat. We'll start taking missions tomorrow, bright and early." "Asuma-sensei, will we be alright on these D-rank missions? Don't a lot of villagers still hate Naruto-kun?" Ino said as he walked next to him. The Jonin with a beard sighed and scratched before responding, "We should be fine, so long as they leave us alone to do our work. It's not like they can really do anything to him anymore, unless they want to piss off the people closest to him. Kiyomi-san and Hinata have kinda crippled people that dared try to hurt him again. People know better than to try anything these days." Ino briefly blinked and asked, "Hinata did that? Wow, I didn't think she had it in her. Normally she seems shy and reserved, only ever really talking with Naruto-kun. Actually, I think he was her only friend." Shino joined in, saying, "You would be correct about that, Ino-san. Hinata only cares for Naruto-san. He's the most important thing in her life, from what I have gathered. She has become strong due to her desire to protect him and keep him happy. She has distanced herself from her family and seems to care nothing for any of them. I'm surprised she hasn't asked Kiyomi-san if she can move in with them." Asuma shook his head and scowled. "I don't think the thought has crossed her mind yet. Once she gets it in her head that she's ready to move in with him, I'm fairly certain she'll just go ahead and do it. Her father, sister, cousin, they don't matter to her one little bit. I'm quite certain that if any of them tried to stop her from being with Naruto, she'd kill them in a heartbeat. Nothing gets between her and her Naruto-kun." When Ino heard that, a shiver ran down her spine. That's kind of terrifying to think about. "Indeed," Shino said before they all fell silent, occasionally glancing at Naruto while they were walking. "Remember to never annoy Hinata." As she strolled alongside her teammates, Ino reflected. In contrast, Naruto merely grinned and hummed a song to himself while reflecting on almost nothing significant. Explosions. You see, nothing significant. The following day pops. "What the devil were you thinking? Immediately assigning us the Tora mission. You are aware of Naruto's personality. What if the fucking thing is killed by him?" While searching for the demon cat from hell with his team, Asuma thought in a sort of panic. Naruto gazed placidly down at Tora, the cat. He had seen it scratch poor Ino, leaving scratches that marred her lovely face. He switched his element to shock and found himself grinning because he didn't want to experience the same fate again and because he didn't want the damn thing to escape. "Let's see how you like this, you dumb cat." Naruto then caused a lightning bolt to descend from the sky and hit the cat from hell. Naruto was holding a barely alive Tora when the others soon arrived on the scene. They could actually see Tora's body emitting smoke. Asuma questioned, "Naruto? Is it still alive? Out of fear?" Oh, the cat? Yeah, it's perfectly fine. I just gave it a little taste of my gigavolt attack to knock the damn thing out. It's cool though, we're getting along just swell, aren't we, cat?" Naruto replied with a devilish grin. "Naruto-san?" Shino asked, raising an eyebrow. "You seem different." The blonde with the spiky hair shrugged as he glanced at his teammate. "Yeah? Well, I guess I am sorta different from the usual Naruto people are used to seeing. Nothing to worry about though, Shino, my man. Yeah, I know I can be a bit shocking, but it's cool. And Ino-chan, it's a shame this cat scratched up that pretty face of yours. Here's hoping those scratches heal up nicely and don't leave any lasting scars. You're too sexy for this cat to screw it all up. Then again, you'd probably look great even with a few scars." "Rawr," he said, grasping Tora's left front leg and creating her paws at Ino. At his words, Ino found herself blushing pretty. Thank you, Naruto-kun. I assume this is another of your personalities?" Naruto shrugged again. He grinned down at Tora and started to make the cat dance, much to its chagrin. "Something like that, I suppose. I'm just another part of Naruto, really. Dancey dancey dance dance dance." Asuma observed Tora grudgingly complying with Naruto's wishes regarding it. I never imagined that I would feel sorry for this demon cat. When Naruto turned to face his teammates, he smiled and said, well, let's go give this cat back to its owner. I'm curious to see how she'll react when she sees her cat in this state. It'll be shocking. The other three perspired as Naruto laughed at his own joke. Asuma let out a small sigh, shook his head in mild amusement, and turned to leave. Let's go complete our mission. Hopefully Tora has learned her lesson and won't run away again, but I doubt it. Madam Shijimi is a bit overbearing. Naruto sighed and replied, at least Mr. Explosion didn't get to the cat. He would have tortured the poor cat with explosions. I'm far nicer. I have some doubts about that. Asuma pondered in confusion. Office of the Hokage. Madam Shijimi's shrieking. What happened to my poor Tora? Startled almost everyone in the village. Which one of you hurt my poor baby? As Naruto watched Shijimi take her poor cat's life, he scowled. Ma'am, that would be me. I'm curious about something though. Why do you abuse your poor cat like that? You need to be gentler with her if you don't want her to run away so often. I'm sure if you treated her with respect and love, rather than smothering her so much, she'd be one happy cat. Madam Shijimi was initially incensed at Naruto for his actions and the abuse allegations. But after considering it for a while staring at her cat, she turned to face Naruto and nodded. I see. That makes sense, I suppose. Thank you, young man. Just for your advice, I'll double the pay you receive. However, don't ever hurt my poor baby like this again. Do you understand me? The blonde with the spiky hair just nodded and grinned at her, acknowledging that. Of course, ma'am. Have a good day. Before leaving the Hokage's office, the overweight woman said, thank you. Good day to you as well. Hiruzen, I expect to hear good things about this boy. Make sure to take good care of him. After she left, Hiruzen gave Naruto a puzzled look. So, you just couldn't help yourself, could you? Tell me, just how badly did you electrocute that poor cat? Naruto sighed and replied, nowhere near as badly as I could have. I may have said I used my gigavolt attack on it, but it was really just the weakest bolt I could use that would render it immobile for a while. Yeah, the poor thing's fur was singed a bit afterwards, but it wasn't like she was going to die from the attack I used. Trust me, if I left it up to Mr. Explosion, the cat would be dead by now. Hiruzen gave a sympathetic nod. I'm sure Tora would be, but couldn't you have left this up to your cryo personality? Naruto shook his head and let out a sigh. Afraid not. She would have killed the cat given the chance. You know how she gets, Hokage-sama. Hiruzen was about to respond when Ino said, but you're a guy, Naruto-kun. After blinking a few times, Naruto turned to face Ino. I know that. However, each personality that shares this body is different in their own, unique way. Some personalities are female, most are male, it all just depends on the element we use. We're all Naruto, and yet we're not at the same time. We're broken, just like it's been said before. We all make up part of a whole, but we can never be complete again. It's cool though, we're all fine with how it works. Most of the time we'll just leave things up to Mr. Explosion, but he can't handle everything on his own. Chances are, you'll be seeing more of us, his other personalities I mean, as you do missions together. Mr. Explosion is too likely to blow things up at random if you try to do D-rank missions in the village. He's not good with people, you see. Team 10 members gave a nod of comprehension before Ino posed another query. So, do you all have names, or do we just call you Naruto, no matter what? The young man with blue eyes paused for a moment before responding, we're fine with you just calling us Naruto. We've never really thought about naming ourselves before. I just call the normal personality, Mr. Explosion. It's best to just call him Naruto, though. As for me, you can call me either Naruto or Denki. And the cryo chick? She's Esdeath. Or you can just call her Naruto, Naruko. Whatever's fine, really. After giving it some more thought, he made the decision to simply list the names of the others. Flame is Natsu. Corrosive is Mina, another girl. Slag is Nao, yet another girl. And for radiation, you have Naraku. We're all quite different, but at least we're easy to get along with. Seriously though, it's okay to just call us all Naruto. Well, I can't wait to meet them all. And it's nice to meet you as well, Denki-kun, Ino said with a smile. Nice to meet you as well, Ino-chan. I certainly hope those scratch marks heal up nicely. Now, Naruto said with a little laugh. He turned to face Hiruzen, who grinned and said, bring on the next mission. We'll ace that one too. Hiruzen nodded his head and gave a small laugh. Very well, Naruto-kun, Asuma. After a month since she had not yet met all of Naruto's personalities, Ino felt a little disappointed. She had only met Mina, Esdeath, Denki, and Naruto thus far. The others had not yet met her. She could see that Kiyomi and Hinata were intimately familiar with each of his personalities, and for some reason, that really irritated her. Here they were again, in Hiruzen's office. Asuma grinned and replied, "You gave Team 7 a mission like that after only a few weeks? Let me guess." Sasuke threw a tantrum and Kakashi, being the baka that he is, claimed they were already ready for such a mission? Hiruzen nodded and let out a sigh. "Yes, it's exactly like you just said. I tried to dissuade them and make them understand that they just weren't ready for that kind of mission, partly because Sasuke and Sakura are not team players. Choji's the only one that truly understands the concept of teamwork, but he's outnumbered on that team. It's unfortunate. I really hoped Kakashi could make those two see that teamwork and camaraderie are important, but he focuses all of his attention on training Sasuke and ignoring the others. I had hoped that by giving them this C rank, now turned A rank mission, that they'd come together and work as a cohesive unit. Kakashi would see the importance in training everyone on his team. But it seems as if that was a mistake. I doubt they've learned anything at all." After complaining for a while, the third turned back to Team 10. "I'm sending your team as backup. Naruto-kun, I want you to find Gato's base of operations and destroy it. I also want you to kill Gato and all of his men. Do you think you can do that for me?" With a head tilt, Naruto posed the question, "Explosions? Hokage-sama, why are you assigning such a mission to Naruto-kun and not the entirety of Team 10? Ino asked before Hiruzen could respond. Hiruzen shook his head, looking at Ino. He scratched at his beard and then glanced at Naruto. "It's not that I distrust you three. I am giving this mission solely to Naruto-kun because of his unique abilities and," he sighed. "Some of his personalities are trained killers. They can help him deal with any kills he has to make. Aside from that, I want him to experience his first kills on this mission. I need to know how he'll cope with doing such a thing. Asuma-kun, keep an eye on Naruto-kun and, if you feel he needs help, step in and do what you need to do to help him. As for your team's orders," as he was looking at Ino and Shino, he stated, "Protect the bridge builder, Tazuna. I don't trust Team 7 to focus on their mission rather than on themselves. Choji is fine, but the other three? No, Asuma, I want you to take charge of the mission. Any orders you give, they will either follow them to the letter, or they'll be charged with insubordination and punished accordingly. Understand?" "Understood. Hokage-sama. Team, I want you to go and pack for at least a month. We're going to be busy and I want us to be prepared." His three genin nodded and hurried away. After they had left the office, Hiruzen glanced at his kid and replied, "If Kiyomi wants to go with you, then take her. She's not an officially registered kunoichi of the village, so she's free to come and go as she pleases. I have a strong feeling that she'll want to go with Naruto on any mission he goes on outside of the village. Besides that, she's a siren and her powers will be most useful when facing especially hardy foes." After giving his father a nod, Asuma bowed and departed the office. "I didn't expect Team 7 to be such a disappointment. I had such faith in Kakashi and he's screwed up tremendously," Hiruzen said after he left, after rubbing the bridge of his nose. "I'll have to discuss this with the councils." Naruto as he prepared his belongings for the mission, Naruto noticed that he was humming. Kiyomi came into his room as he was doing this and inquired, "What's got you so happy, Naruto-kun?" After glancing at her, the blonde teenager chose to give the best explanation he could. "Mission outside the village. Explosions in the land of waves. I have to kill Mr. Gato and his lackeys. My first kills. I'm coming with you, sweetheart. I refuse to let you do all of that on your own. Let me share in your burden," the stunning redhead said, scowling to herself. With a radiant smile, Naruto glomped onto her and pressed his cheek against hers. "Explosions," he cried, giving her a tight embrace. Kiyomi just nodded her head and giggled. "We'll get to see many of your explosions, I promise. And no matter what, just know I'm here for you. Okay, honey." Naruto just gave a nod and went back to packing. Kiyomi scowled as he did, thinking to herself. "I know what you're doing, Hiruzen, but I'm not fond of it. If my sweetie didn't have to murder anyone, that would be better." Land of Waves. A few days later, Team 7's failure to buckle down and wait patiently for them disappointed Team 10. But that one little bit didn't surprise them. Thus, they found themselves in the Land of Waves, observing the conflict unfolding on the path beneath them. Each of them was concealed among the trees, awaiting their opportunity to attack. Asuma let out a disappointed sigh when Kakashi was captured by their adversary, Zabuza Momochi. "Be ready to move in on my order." Kiyomi scowled as she peered at something beyond the altercation. There's somebody else watching the fight. What do you want to do, Asuma? With this knowledge, the bearded Jonin frowned, glanced across the room, and hummed for a while. Shino, I want you to sneak up on whomever it is watching the fight and disable them with your Kakaichu. We want whomever it is alive. Kiyomi-san, I want you to assist him if he needs it. Both Shino and Kiyomi gave a nod, then left to finish their task. After they left, Asuma looked at Ino and said, I want you to use your clan's technique to temporarily take control of Zabuza. Remove his control over the water sphere and release Kakashi. Don't strain yourself, however. If he puts up too much of a fight, retreat and leave it up to Naruto and me, understand? After giving a sympathetic nod, Ino turned to face Zabuza. She inhaled deeply, concentrated, and then let her technique run wild, escaping her body and taking possession of his. He struggled a little, of course, but not enough to prevent her from making him let go of the water sphere. She was not prepared for Kakashi to turn abruptly and stab Zabuza in the side, causing her to scream in agony and withdraw to her body. She quickly started searching through her belongings for a medical kit after noticing that her side was bleeding. After glaring at Kakashi, Asuma turned to face Ino. Damn it, are you going to be okay, Ino? Naruto glared and turned to face Kakashi and Zabuza after realizing what had happened to Ino. He yelled, Plo. Science. Explosions. And exploded a huge blast that destroyed the surrounding forest and killed Kakashi and Zabuza. In addition, the explosion rocked the trees that Kiyomi and Team 10 were in and sent Tizuna and the other members of Team 7 flying. Both Kakashi's and Zabuza's bodies were on the ground when the explosion eventually subsided, with pieces of them either totally destroyed or blown clean off. Anyone could see that the two had been killed by the huge explosion. Asuma and Ino's eyes widened at this, and then the Jonin turned to face Naruto in disbelief. And Naruto, what have you done? However, Ino's thoughts were entirely different as she hugged Naruto and said, It's okay, Naruto-kun. I'm okay. I'm sorry for worrying you. Everything's okay now, I promise, skipping the momentary care of her wound. Naruto looked into Ino's eyes after pausing to catch his breath. Ino-chan. Are you okay? And nobody hurts. My Ino-chan. This caused Ino to flush deeply, and she said, Why you're Ino-chan? Naruto-kun. Naruto turned away from her as he blushed too. I'm sorry for killing them. Asuma shook his head and sighed. He looked down at their bodies and sighed once more before saying, It's not your fault, Naruto. You got upset, but it's not your fault, Kakashi.hm. After a brief glance at Asuma, Ino turned to face the dead Zabuza and Kakashi. Asuma-sensei. Won't the people back in Konoha be upset with Naruto-kun when they find out what happened here? I don't want Naruto-kun to be hurt because of this. After a while, the smoker shook his head and scowled. If nobody tells people about what really happened here, Naruto-kun should be fine. We'll just have to tell them that Kakashi died in the line of duty. The problem is, can they keep their mouths shut? He said, staring at the genin of Team 7. After giving them a quick glance, Naruto declared, Gramps can order them to be silent. If they tell, they could be punished. Asuma nodded and continued, True enough. Problem is, Sasuke and Sakura aren't likely to care about being punished, thinking they're immune to such a thing. We'll just have to take a wait and see approach, I suppose. Team 10's 3 members leapt into the clearing and turned to face Tizuna. Asuma said, Hello Tizuna-san. We're Team 10, sent by the Hokage to help protect you. As you can see, we have the power needed to keep you safe. It's just unfortunate that Kakashi died because he hurt someone dear to us. Sasuke thrust a finger at Naruto while glaring at him. Bullshit. That monster killed our sensei. He's the only person that actually gave a shit and helped me obtain more power, but that freak of nature. Angry at Sasuke calling Naruto a freak of nature, Ino approached him and gave him a forceful punch to the face, landing him on his ass in the process. Naruto-kun only did what he did because Kakashi hurt me. Your sensei knows all about my clan's techniques. He knew damn well what was going on and yet he still stabbed Zabuza, knowing I was still in possession of his body and mind. Your precious sensei didn't give a shit about me. You should have been faster. If you weren't so weak, our sensei wouldn't be dead, sneered Sakura. Asuma approached the bitch before Ino could strike back, saying, We don't take kindly to that kind of talk. You might want to think about what you're saying before you get killed next. Sasuke just scoffed and opened his mouth to respond, but Naruto spoke first. You stupid asshole. Sakura stupid bitch. Your sensei hurt my Ino-chan. Sakura laughed and replied, So, you've chosen that insane idiot over Sasuke-kun? Figures you'd stoop low enough to get with a freak like him. I'm not surprised you've given up on Sasuke-kun. You were too ugly to have a real chance with him, after all. Ino touched the bridge of her nose and said, at least I'm not shallow, like you. And for your information, I've given up on Sasuke. He's too much of an asshole for my tastes. You're more than welcome to him. After all, bitches gotta stick together now, don't they? That's enough, all of you. What's done is done. There's nothing we can do about it now. From now on, I'm in charge of this mission. We're going to focus on protecting Tazuna-san and dealing with any threats that come our way. Understand? Asuma said, glaring at Sakura and Sasuke before they could respond. Sasuke opened his mouth to speak, but was cut off when Shino and Kiyomi appeared with a bound hunter nin. The hell? Asuma shook his head, glancing at the hunter nin. There's something wrong with this. He reached down and removed the mask of the unidentified ninja, exposing their face to everyone. Everyone could see that the ninja was a very attractive woman when her face was revealed. But she was staring around at everyone with a fierce glare on her face. Which one of you is responsible for Zabuza-sama's death? Asuma gave Naruto a warning glare, but Sasuke ignored it and pointed at him, saying, that asshole right there. When we get back to the village, I'm having you punished for selling out your comrade like this, Asuma snarled at him. Oh please, like the councils or that wimp of a Hokage would ever punish me. I'm their precious, last Uchiha, after all. Sasuke spoke with arrogance. After giving Sasuke a brief glance, Haku shook her head. She glared at Naruto as she said, a shinobi that sells out his own comrades is despicable. As for you, how dare you kill Zabuza-sama? With a bewildered blink, Naruto questioned, explosions? Just as the phony hunter nin was about to yell at him, Kiyomi seized her head and gave it a painful squeeze. My darling is special, young miss. All he knows is that someone hurt somebody precious to him and he reacted. Special? Don't spout bullshit like that. The idiot's an insane prick that deserves to be. Gah, he said with a sneer. Kiyomi grabbed Sasuke by the throat with her other hand and interrupted him. She lifted him off the ground and started choking him to death. One warning only, little runt. Shut the hell up and leave my Naruto-kun alone. His mind was fractured at a young age and he's never truly recovered from that experience. Looking at Haku, she said, my Naruto-kun is different. He has multiple personality disorder. The one you see now is a fragile person that wears his heart on his sleeve. He cherishes his bonds and loves people with all his heart. It's hard to explain, but this side of him is innocent and just wants to make people smile. And he's protective of those dear to him. When Kakashi hurt Ino like that. Haku glanced from Kiyomi to Naruto and scowled deeply. He's broken. Like me, isn't he? Naruto gave a cute little tilt of his head and blinked. Explosions? Asuma scratched the back of his head and sighed. You could say that, yes. Naruto just reacted when Ino got hurt. I doubt he truly meant to kill your master. Do you think you could forgive him for what he did? I know it may be hard, but... The ice user briefly closed her eyes and turned her gaze from Asuma back to Naruto. She opened her eyes, gazed intently into Naruto's eyes, and then scowled pitifully. I don't know, she sighed, shook her head, and grinned piteously. I can see it in his eyes. He truly is a pure soul, isn't he? She said. I'll leave him alone. But, returning her gaze to Naruto, she said, nobody should hurt so much. I want to help him. I'm without a purpose now that Zabuza-sama is dead. I know it may seem strange, considering that this young man killed Zabuza-sama, but, looking at Kiyomi, she responded, I wish to serve this Naru, as you called him. I wish for him to be my new master. As a variety of obscene images flashed through her mind, Ino noticed that she was blushing slightly. What the heck do you mean, master? You'd better not be thinking pervy stuff, she said, shaking it off after a moment. Haku blinked a few times before her face suddenly flushed deeply. Not like that. You're the one thinking perverted things. The blonde woman's facepalm and her cheeks turned a deeper shade of red. Sorry, seriously though, why do you want Naruto-kun to be your new master? The lovely ice user once more glanced at Naruto and, because nobody deserves to have eyes like that. When I look into his eyes, it's almost like looking into a mirror. Only his are worse. He's truly suffered and it hurts to see him, or anyone really, like this. He needs me and I need him. Kiyomi looked at the girl with a frown and, he has Hinata-chan and me. However, I see your point. He needs somebody who understands the kind of pain he's been through. Very well, I'll accept you into our home and into our lives. Treat Naruto-kun with the respect and kindness he deserves, and I'll see to it that you live a much better life in our company than you would on the run." Haku turned to face her deceased master and scowled for a moment before stating, Can we give Zabuza-sama a proper burial here in Wave somewhere? He deserves to be buried somewhere with a view of the sea." Haku grinned appreciatively at Kiyomi and said, "Thank you." Asuma nodded and replied, "Of course we can. Normally we'd take his head to cash in for a bounty, but in this case, we'll not do that. He'll be buried properly, with a headstone and everything. As for Kakashi, we'll seal his body up in a scroll so he can be transported back to Konoha where he can be properly put to rest." "You moron. If you won't cash in on his bounty, then I will," said Sasuke with a frown. Naruto, who had realized that this Haku person had sworn herself to his service, became enraged once more as Sasuke drew closer to Zabuza's body. Desecrating Zabuza's body was strictly forbidden because his new friend loved him. He grinned cruelly and changed his element from explosion to cryo. Before snapping his fingers and sending a spear of ice shooting up from the ground and piercing Sasuke's right leg, he said, "Oh Sasuke, do me a favor and chill out." The haughty Uchiha collapsed to his knees and let out a painful scream. "Gah! You asshole, look what you've done to me." Sakura screamed, "Sasuke-kun." Before attacking Naruto, she discovered several senbon pricking her body before she could even approach. She fell to the ground, unconscious, her eyes rolling into the back of her head. Haku said icily, "Nobody hurts Naruto-sama." "You can use ice release techniques?" Haku asked her new master after they had been dealt with. Naruto raised an eyebrow in Haku's direction. "I'm afraid my technique is a bit different from yours. I have a unique Kekkei Genkai that allows me to use a number of different elements: flame, shock, corrosive, explosion, slag, cryo, and radiation. Each element has its own unique personality. As for me, you may call me S-Death or Naruto, either one works for me. As for my abilities, just know that while I can control ice, it's different from how you generally would use your ice techniques. Now, should I torture the two of them or not? That is the question of the moment, is it not?" Asuma put a soft hand on Naruto's shoulder and shook his head. "I know that's kind of your thing, S-Death-san. But please refrain from torturing the two of them. Believe it or not, they are our allies on this mission. And they are fellow Konoha ninja. It would be best to just leave them alone for the time being. If they step out of line, Kiyomi-san and I will deal with them, I promise." After a long moment of staring into his sensei's eyes, Naruto let out a deep sigh. "Oh, very well. You hear that, Sasuke? You get to live. Thank Asuma-san here for the mercy I have shown you today." After a brief period of inquisitive observation, Haku asked, "Was S-Death-san another of your personalities, Naruto-sama?" "She was different from you." The blonde with the blue eyes cocked his head, then nodded and grinned broadly at her. He scowled a little and said, "What do we do with them?" after glancing at Sakura and then at Sasuke. "S-Death-chan is fun. She likes to play with people. She doesn't use explosions like me, though." Asuma murmured, "We carry them to Tezuna's house and let them rest. Kiyomi-san, can you use a few clones to carry the two of them? I'll seal Kakashi and Zabuza's bodies away for now until we're ready to bury the two of them." Kiyomi turned to face Sasuke and growled. Before making the clones to accomplish this, she declared, "I'll use my clones, but they won't carry them. They'll be dragged on their faces so they learn their damn lesson." Asuma shook his head and sighed. "So long as it works, I guess that's okay." "Good, because I wasn't going to listen to any complaints. Now, Tezuna, let us to your house. My little Naru-kun and I have a special mission to take care of while we're here, and we'll need someplace to rest. So do be a saint and show us the way, all right?" Kiyomi replied with a smile. Tezuna was nervously perspiring from what he had just seen. To be honest, he was a little afraid of the teenager with the spiky hair. What crazy power he possessed. In addition to his personality disorder, he was an extremely frightening adolescent. He glanced back at Kiyomi when he heard growling, then nodded hastily. He turned and started down the path, trying not to stoop in terror, saying, Sure, just follow me." When she noticed Tezuna's behavior, Haku scowled. "He fears you, Naruto-sama. Hopefully he comes to understand that you're just here to help him. You're a pure person. You don't need people to be afraid of you like this. At least not your allies and clients. Your enemies should fear you, however." Ino scowled as she briefly glanced at Naruto before shifting her attention to Haku. "I don't want anyone to be afraid of him though. Naruto-kun is too nice for that. I don't want him to be hurt because people are afraid of him and his powers." Kiyomi shook her head and sighed. Before they all left for Tazuna, she said, "Let's just go. We can talk about all this stuff later, now come on." Afterwards, gazing at the young boy, Inari, Naruto scowled. There was no smile on his face. He was actually quite impolite. Naruto didn't like that, so he decided to try to cheer the child up by making a bunch of little explosions around him. However, Kiyomi put her hand on his head and shook her head. "No," at him. "Explosions?" he asked, pouting. "No explosions, honey." Kiyomi shook her head and said, "Just let him be." With a sorrowful frown, Naruto glanced at Inari once more before shifting his attention to Haku. He nodded enthusiastically, not realizing that Tazuna was trembling in remembrance of the enormous explosion that had killed both Kakashi and Zabuza. "Where's Gato? My mission here is to find him and kill him." Big EXPLOSIONS, his words. Haku was about to respond when Inari yelled at Naruto. "You're an idiot. Gato's too powerful. He's going to kill all of you and there's nothing you can do to stop it. You all should just go home. I bet you don't even know what it's like to suffer." Glaring at Inari, Haku turned. "Don't know what it's like to suffer. Some of us here have known suffering far, far worse than anything you've seen, little boy. Naruto-sama here has seen a horrible amount of suffering in his life. I don't know what he's been through, but whatever it is that happened to him, it shattered his mind to the point he's developed multiple personality disorder. He'll never be whole again because people hurt him so terribly that it left a wound that's impossible to truly heal. I've suffered too. I bet your father never tried to kill you, did he? Mine did. All because I'm different, so don't you dare say that we don't know what it means to truly suffer." Haku flushed deeply at Naruto's tender touch as he put a reassuring hand on her cheek. "No explosions. Smile." The stunning woman with raven hair gave Naruto a gentle smile and a firm embrace. "Everything will be okay, Naruto-sama, I promise." Naruto grinned kindly and said, "Good, explosions are happy, try to smile more." Looking at Naruto, Inari scowled as he tried to make sense of what Haku had just told him. "I just think this guy is crazy." Kiyomi turned and growled at Inari as though he could sense his thoughts. "It's just as Haku-chan said. Naruto-kun has suffered tremendously in the past. You may think he's insane, but he's broken. He hurts inside so much sometimes, it's amazing he even wants to get out of bed in the morning. What you see before you is what happened as a means of coping with all the pain he's been through. Now go to your room or something. Naruto-kun doesn't need a pessimistic, rude little brat like you bothering him." For that, Inari gave her a glare before turning and leaving without saying anything. Tsunami sighed and bowed to them as soon as he was gone. "I'm terribly sorry for Inari's attitude. He lost his adoptive father and hasn't been the same ever since. Gato killed my husband. He was a good man and Inari was very close with him, but..." There, Kiyomi made the decision to stop her. "You don't need to explain yourself to us, Tsunami-san. Believe me, we understand. Like I said though, Naruto-kun, Haku-chan, and myself will be dealing with Gato. We just need to get some food in our bellies and maybe some rest and then we'll be good to go to Gato's lair and kill him and his men." "Are you sure the three of you alone can do it?" Tsunami inquired. Kiyomi cracked a sly grin and, "Oh, trust me when I say that just Naruto-kun alone is way more than enough. The two of us are simply going to be there to help him should he need it. Trust me, sweetheart, this kid can do it. I saw his attack up close and personal. You do not want to cross this kid. That's all I'll say," Tazuna said, shaking his head at her before Tsunami could ask any more questions. Haku looked into Naruto's eyes and replied, "We should eat and sleep tonight. Tomorrow morning, I'll lead you and Kiyomi-sama to Gato's location so we can deal with them. I won't let you do it alone, Naruto-sama, okay?" Naruto merely nodded his head and grinned at her. Only time would tell how these killings and the deaths of Kakashi and Zabuza would truly impact him, but tomorrow would be an interesting day. For the time being, Naruto would just spend time with his loved ones in order to distract himself from his past actions and his future obligations. Haku led Naruto to a building, which he gazed at with interest. He glanced at Kiyomi for a moment, then gestured toward the building. "Make explosions now?" Kiyomi shook her head and scowled. "No, Naruto-kun. There might be innocents inside that need rescuing. Haku, you're the one who has had the most contact with this slimeball. What do you think?" The ice mistress paused for a moment before uttering, "We'll need to be careful about how we approach this. He keeps women as sex slaves and children to be groomed, so to speak. The women could be anywhere, knowing how Gato and his goons are. The children he keeps locked up in the basement. Explosions wouldn't work in this kind of situation. Fire is too dangerous. What do you think? Kiyomi gazed at her beloved and scowled for a moment. Naruto-kun, use radiation in here. I know he may be a bit of a psychopath, but Naraku would be our best bet in this situation. Naruto closed his eyes and nodded. When his eyes finally opened, it was clear that Naraku was now in command. It's time to play. I rarely get the chance to stretch my limbs. Come, let us proceed, he said, his eyes icy. Of course, Naruto-sama. Let's go. Haku nodded, and the three of them parted ways to enter the building from 3 different locations. Kiyomi would go directly for Gato, but Haku would go and save the kids. In contrast, Naruto strolled idly in the direction of the front doors while grinning ruthlessly at the thugs on guard outside. One of the thugs demanded to know, "Who the hell are you? What are you doing here?" Pointing his finger at a nearby goon and using his special power, Naruto declared, "Who I am is unimportant. You won't be alive much longer anyways." Naraku cackled as he and everyone else around him started to moan in pain, saying, "Ah, music to my ears. Farewell you fools." Asking, What the hell did you do, Tess?" The first thugs to speak fell to his knees. The goon moaned as he fell on his face, the life slowly vanishing from his eyes. Naruto chose to make fun of the man by saying, "Radiation. Not only does it slowly kill the person afflicted with it, but it kills all those around my target as well. A bit overpowered, I suppose, but it's certainly effective." Naruto looked around at the dead goons and shrugged, saying, "And that takes care of that. In I go." Naruto entered the building, casually applied radiation to 1 goon in each group, and watched as they gradually died. His primary objective was to locate and liberate every woman. Naruto could control his ability to only affect his enemies, leaving innocent people unharmed, even though radiation might be a dangerous ability. After a while, Naruto released several women, then scowled as he examined them. Some of them seemed to be broken. It would be a mercy to end your lives and free you from your torment. I may not be the nicest person around, but even I would not be so cruel as to force you to live like this. A hand landed on his shoulder as he was about to kill the few women whose eyes were unfocused and seemed to be catatonic. His eyes softened slightly at the sight of Haku, as he looked to see who dared to touch him. "Haku, why are you stopping me? Can you not see them?" Haku scowled and gave a sorrowful shake of her head. "It is not up to us to decide what happens to them now. Like us, they may be broken, but there might be a chance that they could recover. Still, as much as it pains us to leave them like this, we should leave their fate in the hands of Asuma-san and Tazuna-san." After a moment of calmly gazing into her eyes, Naruto turned back to the women. He said, "Take them out of here. Get them back to town and to Asuma-sensei. I'm going to find Kiyomi-chan and that rotten scumbag that's responsible for this," before turning to leave the room with a slight frown. Before she led the women outside to where the children were now waiting, Haku said, "As you wish, Naruto-sama." Naruto-sama, poor guy. He should never be forced to do this or witness such behavior in others. Naruto discovered Gato and saw Kiyomi torturing the little jerk. He signaled her to stop with a raised hand. "It was Naruto-kun?" she asked. Approaching the wicked midget, Naruto looked him in the eyes and asked, "Do you feel even the slightest bit of remorse for what you have done to those poor women? Some of them looked so broken. Resigned to their fate with damn near no chance of making a true recovery. What you have done is something even I would never do. So tell me, do you feel the slightest bit of shame or remorse for what you have done to them?" After giving a gloomy laugh, Gato spat blood out of his mouth, striking Naruto's foot. "Why should I feel ashamed of what I did to them? They made wonderful cock sleeves. It was my job to break them in before selling them off to the highest bidder. Money makes the world go round, and I earned a lot of it. Was what I did illegal? Sure, but who the fuck cares? You dare to judge my actions when you shinobi do things just as despicable." After giving Gato a slow nod of comprehension, Naruto quickly backhanded him and knocked him to the ground. "You see, Gato, that's where you're wrong. Shinobi do as their mission demands. Missing Nin might do something on this magnitude, but even then, they've got a strict code of honor as well, in a sense. No, Gato, Shinobi wouldn't stoop to these lows. Now, I think it's time to show people that they needn't fear you any longer. I'm going to kill you in front of all of them. Will it scar them? Perhaps. But they deserve to see you suffer for your crimes." Gato bowed down in front of Naruto as his eyes widened in horror. "Please have mercy. I'll do whatever you want. Do you want women? I can get you women, or money. I've got plenty of it. I can give you whatever you want and then some. just don't kill me. With a sneer, Naruto turned to face Kiyomi. Break his legs and then bring him into the center of town. I'll inform Haku to guide the women and children back to town. I'll send a clone to collect Asuma and the others. According to Kiyomi, who nodded, of course, Naruto-kun. As Kiyomi pulled Gato away, Naruto watched. Later, he frowned as he scanned the room. He waved dismissively, summoning forth a clone, and watched as it vanished to go and gather his teammates. He then proceeded to gather all the valuable items in the room and store them in storage scrolls. When he was done, he called forth several clones and gave them a nod. Search this place from top to bottom. Find everything of value and bring it into town when you're done. Make sure you look for hidden rooms, safes, whatever you can think of. Don't leave a single stone unturned. I've got a midget to kill. As they watched Naruto go, the clones exclaimed, "Right? Have fun, boss." Town center Naruto patiently awaited everyone's arrival. He saw Sasuke fuming with rage as his teammates and the remaining members of Team 7 arrived. Naruto dismissed it and turned to speak to the Wave people. "Everyone, I want you to take a good look at this minuscule individual. This is the man that put you through hell. I was given the mission to kill this fat pig and free all of you from his tyranny." Sighing softly, Naruto looked around at the residents of as he said, "This man took women and children and did horrible things to all of them. They have been returned to you, and my clones will soon begin distributing your belongings and money back to you. However, some of the women have been broken to such a degree that they may never recover. I considered putting them out of their misery, but I was convinced by a friend that I should let you try and help them to heal. Now, I think it's only fair that you get to see Gato suffer for his crimes. I warn you that if you're squeamish, you might want to look away and cover your ears. Do not let your children watch what I am about to do." Naruto turned to Gato and started carving into his body while he waited for everyone to follow his advice. He enjoyed hearing his victim scream as he did so. After finishing, he was about to kill Gato when Sasuke rushed forward and drove his kunai directly into Gato's eye and brain. Naruto scowled and glared at Sasuke, upset by the Uchiha's arrogant expression. "You stole my kill, boy. I don't take kindly to people crossing me in any way. These people will see me as a hero. You failed in your mission. I'm the one whose praises they will sing," Sasuke said with a simple smirk at Naruto. Kiyomi snarled and painfully held Sasuke's head. She squeezed tightly and listened to Sasuke's agonized screams with delight. "We'll be informing the Hokage of your actions here, little boy. Try something like that again and I will kill you." Sasuke laughed and replied, "In your dreams. You can't and won't kill me, because if you do, the people will blame this freak of nature and take it out on him. You don't want that, do you?" Squeezing his head even harder, the red-haired siren said, "You know, you should really think before you speak. Especially when someone has your life in the palm of their hand. I won't hesitate to kill you if you push your luck." Kiyomi-chan, as much as I hate it, he's got a point. Might want to let him go. Naruto sighed and shook his head before pointing his finger at Sasuke after noticing his arrogant expression when Kiyomi let him go. "Drop the smirk or I really will kill you. Go back to your little cocksucker of a girlfriend and behave like the good little runt you are." Sasuke frowned at him and attempted to strike him for being so disrespectful, but he collapsed, out of breath. What the fuck? I warned you. Behave or I'll give you a stronger dose of radiation. If you keep pushing it, you will die from this," said Naruto. Sasuke gasped for air for a few more seconds after Naruto stopped attacking. Asuma approached him before he could respond, saying, "You're getting off lucky. Don't push your luck any farther. Hokage-sama will be hearing about your behavior on this mission and I'll be extra sure to inform him about your insubordination." Sasuke got to his feet and left without saying anything. After a few short moments, he fell to his knees and vomited the contents of his stomach, his legs trembling. Naruto shrugged when he saw this and turned back to face Gato. "I do not appreciate him taking my kill from me." Asuma nodded and continued, "Pops will be hearing about this. And if these people begin to worship that little punk for what he's done." Kiyomi grumbled and replied, "If they know what's good for them, they won't show him any amount of respect. Naruto-kun's the one that saved them, not that rotten Uchiha brat." Shaking his head, the Jonin sensei turned back to face the Wave people. Knowing how people think, that might be wishful thinking. As she observed people attempting to help their new hero, Kiyomi remarked, "Oh, I know. He'll pay for this." Naruto gave a nod of agreement. "Let them do as they wish. I don't care. Mr. Explosion might be a little upset, but he'll get over it quickly enough." Haku approached him and inquired, "Are you going to be okay, Naruto-sama? You had to kill a lot of people today, and now that stupid boy has stolen your mission at the last second. What will happen now? Asuma looked at him and said, chances are, the people here will be immensely thankful to Sasuke for killing Gato for them. They're stupid enough that they'll overlook everything that you three have done for them in favor of thanking the boy that killed their oppressor. It's wrong, but people are like sheep in a way. Oh well. Like I said before, let them do as they please. Tazuna-san's opinion is the only one that really matters here. Still, I wouldn't be at all surprised if they decide to name the bridge after their savior, Naruto said as he started to leave. Sasuke, fuck you. Fuck you, please. After 2 weeks as they had anticipated, the crowd was praising Sasuke for his role in bringing Gato to his demise. Instead, a startlingly high number of people expressed gratitude to Naruto for his assistance. Among them were Tazuna and his family. During their time in the Land of Waves, Naruto and Ino had spent a significant amount of time together. She had become quite attached to him and even acknowledged her pride in his accomplishments. They were much closer even though they hadn't begun dating or anything. Unfortunately for everyone, Sasuke's ego had grown even larger as a result of all the villagers' admiration for him. Since he essentially displayed his superiority and how unique he was in the eyes of the populace, it was clear that he had not learned his lesson. They were now standing on the finished bridge. The crowd was applauding Sasuke Uchiha, their hero. But Tazuna shook Naruto's hand and grinned at him. Thank you again for everything you have done for us, Naruto. You will always be welcome here, no matter what. Try and take care of yourself, okay? You too. Explosions forever, said Naruto, grinning at the man. Tazuna cracked a grin and replied, I know I'll certainly be remembering your explosions for sure. If things ever get too bad for you back in Konoha, feel free to come live here. We'll take care of you. Thank you. Tell me, what do you plan to name the bridge? Kiyomi asked the man, grinning. Looking back at his people, the elderly bridge builder scowled. I'd prefer to name it after our hero, Naruto Uzumaki. But the people are so stupid that they'll insist we name this after the Uchiha runt. If I have my way, it will be named after Naruto. But there's no guarantees. It's your bridge, Tazuna-san. Name it whatever you want, Asuma said, scowling at him. Tazuna nodded and continued, that it is. If they don't like me naming it after Naruto, tough molasses. Now go on, you lot need to get back home. Just let me know if you ever need anything. Before she took his hand and started to cross the bridge with him, Haku said, we will. Come Naruto-sama, let's return home. Kiyomi and Ino immediately did the same because they didn't want to stay and watch Sasuke receive praise. They no longer wanted to deal with him because of his smug grin, which was unbearable. Tazuna glanced at his daughter and grandson as the rest of the team turned and fled after Naruto and the others. Are you two all right with naming the bridge after Naruto? Tsunami nodded her head and grinned at her dad. Of course. How about you, Inari? After a moment of perplexed frowning, Inari questioned, wasn't Sasuke the one that killed Gato and saved all of us? Tazuna looked at his grandson with a scowl. That runt may have dealt the finishing blow, but Naruto is the one that saved everyone. He killed Gato's men, he freed our people, he even dragged Gato's broken form before us and showed us true courage. Sasuke just stole the kill. The people are being stupid, praising that arrogant little bastard for stealing Naruto's kill. Glancing at Naruto's retreating form, Inari scowled. I don't get it. Isn't that guy just an insane weirdo? Tsunami gave Inari a gentle head jolt. That's not very nice of you, Inari. You should show more respect to this country's hero. Besides, if you were listening before, you'd realize that Naruto-kun has truly suffered. He's broken and may never be whole again. He's not insane, and he's not a weirdo. He's just been through far too much in his 15 years of life. Inari remarked, if you say so. I still don't get it. I still say we should name it the Great Sasuke Bridge. After giving his grandson a more intense scowl, Tazuna declared, we're naming it the Great Naruto Bridge and that's final. If you want to worship that spoiled little brat, go right on ahead, but I'm disappointed in you, Inari. Inari scowled but remained silent. Our hero is Sasuke, not that insane fool. Konohagakure a few days later Hiruzen regarded Sasuke Uchiha with a frown. Silently, he said, I see. To his father, Asuma had taken the time to explain everything. So, they're calling you the hero of Wave, are they? How does it feel? Sasuke grinned smugly and remarked, it's what I rightfully deserve. Besides, thinking the Hokage was complimenting him on a job well done, Sasuke was suddenly struck with a powerful blast of killing intent that knocked him to his knees. He gasped for air and gazed fearfully into the Hokage's eyes. wondering what exactly he had done wrong. Looking from Sasuke to Naruto, Hiruzen. For what it's worth, Naruto-kun, I'm sorry for what you've had to go through. I do not blame you for what happened with Kakashi and Zabuza. I won't reveal what you did to anyone. It will be simplest to tell the people that Kakashi died on his mission, defeated by a rogue ninja. A C-rank mission turned S-rank, and he died trying to protect his genin. Hiruzen struck Sasuke with another outburst of murderous intent as he opened his mouth to speak. As for your mission, I do apologize that Sasuke stole your kill and received the praise of the villagers. If it helps any, I received word that they've named the bridge after you, Naruto-kun. You are the true hero of the Land of Waves. You should be proud. But Sasuke-kun saved everyone. Naruto Baka didn't do anything worthy of such praise, Sakura scowled angrily. Wrong. I gave Naruto-kun the mission to kill Gato. Not Sasuke. Naruto-kun freed the captive women and children, and he returned what was taken from them back to the people. Sasuke took advantage of a momentary distraction to kill Gato himself. Sasuke, you will be punished for your actions. Sadly, there isn't much I can do in this case, despite the fact you were an insubordinate little shit. Hiruzen said with a sigh of relief. With a slight smirk, Sasuke slowly stood up and remarked, even if you try to punish me, the councils will protect me. Besides, I didn't do anything wrong. I took advantage of the situation to do what needed to be done. The third Hokage grumbled to himself, you really think you can hide behind the councils? TCH, of course you do. He got up and said, I'll explain your actions to the council and we will decide your punishment then. Naruto-kun, I want you to see Inoichi Yamanaka and discuss what happened on the mission. For now, however, I want you to go home and get some rest. Asuma, follow me. Kiyomi, please create a clone and have it drag Sasuke before the council. The rest of you are dismissed. Go home, do whatever you want, I don't care. They had better not try to assist you, Uchiha, I promise, if they do. Naruto as he skipped down the street, Naruto hummed to himself. Although he was aware that Haku and the others were pursuing him, he wasn't paying much attention to it at the moment. No, he was eager to get home, play for a bit, then eat some delicious food and sleep. But on his way home, he encountered Hinata Hyuga as he turned a corner. He nuzzled his cheek against hers, glomped her to the ground, and grinned at her. Hina-chan, missed you. Before the two of them got to their feet, Hinata laughed and gently pulled her beloved away from her. She noticed something concerning when she looked into his eyes. What happened, sweetheart? Did somebody hurt you? Hokage-sama said kill bad guys. I killed lots of bad people on my mission. Am I bad now? Naruto blinked and then shook his head no. The Hyuga heiress gave him a firm embrace and a forehead kiss. No, Naruto-kun. You aren't a bad person. You did what you had to do to help people. If you were bad, I wouldn't love you so much. Come, let's get you home. We'll talk there. Grinning, Naruto grasped Hinata's hand. He paid no attention to the fact that she was currently with her teammates Shikamaru Nara and Kiba Inuzuka. Rather, he started to skip off toward his compound with Hinata. Hey! Get back here with my woman, Kiba yelled before they could go very far. He stopped for a second, tilted his head in bewilderment, and looked into Kiba's eyes. Hina-chan's with me. Big explosions together. Happy together. When did she make explosions with you? Hinata shook her head angrily and sighed. The woman put her hands on Naruto's cheeks and kissed him. Kiba and I have never been together, sweetheart. He doesn't seem to get the picture though. So maybe this will help him pull his head out of his ass. Everyone else watched in disbelief as they shared a kiss. But after a moment, Kiba frowned and moved closer, determined to hold Naruto accountable. Naruto was blushing when they parted, and he was unable to speak. Kiba threw a fist at his face, but it stopped short, taking him by surprise. There was Haku, her hand firmly gripping Kiba's wrist. Let me go, bitch. With a sigh, Hinata gave Kiba a forehead flick. Stop thinking with your tiny dick for a second and look around you. Do you really want to piss off this many people? We can all destroy you, and I won't hesitate to neuter you. Now be a good dog and run along home. We may be teammates, but I won't hesitate to kill you if you push your luck with me. Kiba stared into her eyes, his eyes wide with horror. Why, you wouldn't really do that, right? We're going to be together. You're mine, not this freak's. Hinata drew out a kunai and whirled it around her finger several times while focusing her attention on him. Then she caught Kiba's pants by the hem and pulled them down until they were around his ankles. Huh, it's tinier than I thought. Oh well. Kiba struggled to break free from Haku's hold after realizing what she was going to do to him. He felt someone holding him in place before he could attack her to try to break free. Please Hinata-chan. Don't do it, I need my man parts. Hinata just apathetically gazed into his eyes. So, if you don't stop badmouthing Naruto-kun and treating him like dirt, I might as well do something to teach you a lesson. If not this, then I suppose I could cut out your tongue. I'm fine either way. Now that I think on it though, I could just remove your hands. Decisions. Kiba's cheeks began to well up with tears. I'm sorry, it won't happen again, just please don't hurt me. There, that wasn't so hard now, was it? Hinata said with a charming smile, getting to her feet and nodding to Kiyomi to release him. She kneed Kiba hard in his package while staring into his eyes and gleefully watched as he fell to the ground in the fetal position, clutching his privates. Let this be a lesson to you Mudface. Now come along Naruto-kun, let's get you home. Either oblivious to what had just transpired or failing to recognize it for what it was, Naruto grinned broadly at her. Either way, it didn't really matter. He was simply content to be with what he considered to be his girlfriend at the moment. I love you so much, Naruto-kun. We'll always be together. I promise, Hinata said, putting her lips to his cheek as though she could sense his thoughts. For a while, Ino and the others just gazed at Kiba before leaving to find the contented couple. And once more, I've come to the conclusion that it would be extremely detrimental to my health to irritate Hinata. Chambers of the council Hiruzen glanced around at the different council members, including Danzo Shimura, his archenemy, and his old friends. He detested that man so much. I have called you all here to discuss the punishment for Sasuke Uchiha. During his last mission, a C rank that took Team 7 to the Land of Waves, Sasuke was insubordinate and caused more problems that nobody needed. Hiruzen sighed as he looked around at everyone again after everyone had calmed down. Perhaps it would be best for me to start at the very beginning. Just a few weeks after becoming a genin, Sasuke Uchiha got fed up with doing D-rank missions and demanded that I give him a mission that was truly worthy of the great Uchiha. When I went to reprimand him for his attitude, Kakashi vouched for Sasuke and the rest of his team, claiming that they were more than ready for a C rank. As I expected upon assigning Kakashi to that team, he focused solely on the Uchiha and neglected his other genin. Rather than working to correct their various issues and curb Sasuke and Sakura's attitudes and their unruly behavior, Kakashi trained Sasuke exclusively, pampering the little brat and doing everything he could to suck up to Sasuke Uchiha. Anyways, I gave them what was supposed to be a simple escort mission. However, shortly after leaving Konoha, they were attacked by the demon brothers of Kirigakure. Upon extracting information on the truth behind the mission, Kakashi informed me of the danger his team was in. I decided to send Team 10, consisting of Asuma Sarutobi, Naruto Uzumaki, Ino Yamanaka, and Shino Aburame as backup for Team 7. I also gave an extra mission to Naruto Uzumaki to complete upon his arrival in the Land of Waves. I'll touch more on that later. Hiruzen continued. Team 7 did not wait for backup to arrive and instead continued on with their mission as if nothing was wrong. Upon catching up to them, they assessed the threat posed to Team 7. Zabuza Momochi had intercepted Team 7 on their way to their client's house. Team 10 found out that Zabuza had an accomplice waiting nearby to rescue him should things turn sour. Here he gazed into Inoichi's eyes. Ino Yamanaka used her jutsu to take control of Zabuza temporarily to force him to release his hold on the water sphere holding Kakashi Hitaki prisoner. The very moment he was free, despite knowing what was happening, Kakashi stabbed Zabuza, therefore wounding Ino in the process. And what happened to Kakashi afterwards? I assume there's a good reason he isn't standing among us to face punishment for his actions? Inoichi frowned in response. Sasuke yelled, that insane idiot, Naruto Uzumaki, killed Kakashi and Zabuza. The one man that was helping me to gain the power I need in that freak show killed him, before Hiruzen could respond. The civilian council, of course, was enraged by what they had just discovered. That being said, Hiruzen was now more worried about Danzo. It would seem our weapon is out of control. You should have given him to me before things got to this point, Hiruzen. It's Hokage-sama to you, asshole, and Naruto-kun has been through more than enough without you breaking him emotionally and psychologically. Now I suggest you sit down and shut the hell up Shimura. Push your luck again and I'll destroy you. Is that understood maggot? Hiruzen yelled with rage. This made Danzo frown, indignant that Hiruzen would have the audacity to disparage him in this manner. But instead he looked at the civilian council, without saying or doing anything. A tiny, barely perceptible grin pulled at his mouth. Hiruzen, I can always use them to weaken your authority. Hiruzen waited for everyone to stop talking before he looked at Sasuke, his murderous intent flared. You rotten little shit. That was information I did not want spread. As far as this council is concerned, Kakashi died in the line of duty at the hands of an enemy. If anyone dares to say otherwise, I'll find out who spilled the beans and I'll execute you myself. You've already broken the law I put in place to protect Naruto Uzumaki and I let you get away with it. That's going to change now. If anyone here dares to reveal what Naruto did in a moment of anger, you will be killed. That goes double for you, Danzo Shimura. I know you. I know what you're capable of. In fact, in order to protect him, I think a little message needs to be taught to everyone here. Hiruzen ran over to Danzo before he could respond, then pushed a concealed kunai through his bandaged eye and into Danzo's skull. Hiruzen frowned when Danzo reappeared a moment later, appearing to be in good health once more. The blood soaking the bandages around his ostensibly empty eye socket was the only indication that he had been hurt. Remove your bandages, Danzo. Show everyone here exactly what you're hiding. Danzo laughed and replied, so, you're making your move after all this time? I miscalculated, but no matter. I will deal with you later. Several Anbu impersonators shielded Danzo from the Hokage as Hiruzen advanced to defeat his adversary. Hiruzen, already enraged, became even more so upon seeing them. You rotten bastard, I should have known you wouldn't obey my orders. Of course not. Everything I have ever done was. Danzo was about to finish when Kiyomi's clone materialized behind him. Danzo's bandaged arm, cut cleanly at the shoulder, dropped to the ground. The ancient fossil's skull was then punctured by a clawed hand. She flicked the blood off her hand as he fell to the ground lifeless, then glared at the root members. She leapt over them before they could react, then crashed to the ground, her fist hitting the ground first. Around her, fists of an unidentified energy erupted from the ground, seized the root members, and slammed them into the ground with such force that they were all broken. She looked at the civilian council as blood spurted from their shattered bodies. Do you understand the lesson? Cross this and you'll really wish you hadn't. But, a chubby councilman began to say, but Kiyomi's claw appeared in his face, just millimeters from his eye. No buts. From now on, you obey and do as you're told. Tell anyone about Naruto's hand in Kakashi's death and it won't matter which of you spilled the beans. I'll simply kill all of you. I won't lose a wink of sleep over it either. So do be good little boys and girls, will you? Except for the obese council member Kiyomi nearly blinded with her claw, all of the civilian council members nodded quickly. In order to avoid losing his sight, he said, Gee, got it. I won't tell a soul. None of us will. She pulled her clawed hand back and gave the man a head pat before she rejoined Sasuke on the ground. Without saying anything, she forced him to eat tile for a while by slamming her fist into the back of his head. You're lucky that's all I'm doing to you, runt. Selling Naruto-kun out like that is quite the crime in my book. Hiruzen sat down again and then gave Sasuke a glare. Hiruzen sighed and shook his head in disappointment. Now, as I was saying before Sasuke so rudely interrupted me, Haku, Zabuza's accomplice, asked who it was that killed her master. Sasuke immediately answered, telling her it was the work of Naruto Uzumaki. He sold out a comrade without a moment's hesitation. This shows me that he holds no loyalty to the village or its people. There is no camaraderie. The only thing that matters in his life is himself. Anyways, as per my instructions, Naruto went with Haku and Kiyomi to Gado's base of operations to carry out the mission I gave to Naruto. The mission I gave him was to assassinate Gado. However, Naruto went above and beyond the call of duty and proceeded to rescue the women and children being held there. He also gathered everything of value and everything that was taken from the people of Weeb and returned it all and then some to the people. However, here's where things take a turn. Naruto dragged Gado into the center of the town and tortured him for his crimes against the people of Weeb. He wanted to do for the people what they wished they could do. Gado deserved to suffer for his crimes before dying. However, Sasuke rushed in and took the kill, therefore earning the praise of the villagers. They declared him a hero and practically worshipped him after that. I had ordered Naruto to kill Gado, but this little shit wanted to take the credit for his kill and get the admiration of everyone, all to feed his goddamn ego. Despite Sasuke's attempts, Tazuna named the bridge after Naruto-kun, despite the fact a great number of people, even his own grandson, wanted to name it after Sasuke. Hiruzen stated. After a moment, he nodded and said, for his insubordination, for ratting out a comrade, and for the various other crimes he committed during his latest mission, a punishment must be decided. I am open to suggestions. It was Inoichi who spoke first. If Kakashi were still alive, I'd want him punished for hurting my baby girl. However, we're here to discuss Sasuke's punishment. For his actions on the mission, I suggest he not be allowed to enter the upcoming Chunin exams. Aside from that, I think a temporary suspension of his ninja license would be a fitting punishment. Kiyomi stomped on Sasuke's head, pinning it to the ground as he attempted to object. Be quiet, runt. Adults are talking. When the other clan leaders accepted the recommended penalty, Hiruzen grinned. And you? What do you have to say? He said, turning to face the civilians. A female member of the civilian council cast a sorrowful glance at Sasuke. The other civilians nodded, primarily out of fear of what the Hokage and Kiyomi would do to them. As much as it pains me to admit it, Sasuke-kun did commit crimes against a fellow ninja on this mission. I'll agree with the chosen punishment, just as I'm sure my colleagues will. For them, however, it was sufficient. Very well. Sasuke Uchiha, you and your teammates are forbidden from participating in the upcoming Chunin exams. On top of that, you will hand in your headband and live your days as a civilian for 2 months. Depending on your behavior during that time, you may or may not get it back. Finally, I suggest you see a Yamanaka for counseling. You've got some serious problems that need correcting, and some therapy might do you a world of good, Hiruzen said. When Kiyomi released him, Sasuke snarled and rose to his feet. He ripped his headband off, slammed it onto the table, and then he turned and bounded out of the room. That he did not lash out at them in any way was something of a miracle. Will Naruto-kun be permitted to enter the Chunin exams? We both know he and his team are more than ready for them, Kiyomi asked Hiruzen after he had left. It is really up to Asuma-kun, but I don't see why he should be declined entry. Hiruzen hummed in contemplation for a while before nodding his head and saying, Naruto-kun may be broken, in a sense, but he's still an exceptionally skilled and incredibly powerful shinobi. He would be just fine. Before turning to Inoichi, Kiyomi said, Thank you, Hokage-sama. Inoichi-san, can you come home with me? I want you to talk with Naruto-kun and try to help him come to terms with what he had to do and what he saw during our mission. While some of his personalities are born killers, Naruto is still an innocent person and is likely having a difficult time coming to terms with what he had to do. And with that, he and Kiyomi's clone left the room. The head of the Yamanaka clan nodded and said, Of course. Let's go. I want to talk to him as soon as possible and thank him for what he did for my little girl, but more than that, if he doesn't get some counseling from somebody soon, there's no telling how it may affect him. Hiruzen asked, Anyone else have anything they'd like to discuss? After they had left, and when no one responded, he called the meeting to a close and headed back to his office. I'm getting too old for this, really. As Hinata told him about her first C-rank mission, Naruto was grinning. He listened intently even though he didn't fully comprehend everything she was saying. At one point, Kiba started to giggle after she complained about him doing something foolish and messing things up. However, Hinata halted her conversation and embraced her boyfriend, putting his head against her ample breasts. She gently stroked the crown of his head and said, If only we had been on the same team together. I could share in your burden and ensure that nobody harmed a hair on your head. I could have handled those horrible people so you wouldn't have had to. You're too pure a person to put through things like that. Explosions hurt people. I hurt people with explosions. Didn't mean to. Ino hurt. I got mad. Big explosions, Naruto said, giving a slow nod. As he let it all out, the Hyuga heiress scowled pitifully at him. It's okay. I know, sweetie. I know. Did Ino thank you? Is she treating you any differently than before? She said, kissing the top of his head. From her seat in one of the chairs close by, Ino said, Please don't talk about me like I'm not here. Yes, I said thank you. And no, I'm not treating him worse simply because he killed someone. Naruto-kun is, with a slight frown, she looked at her fellow blonde and replied, He's delicate. He needed support in that moment. Not scorn or fear or whatever else you might be thinking of. Then Sasuke sold him out to a potential enemy and only made things worse. I think if Kiyomi-sama could have gotten away with it, she would have killed that bastard. Haku sighed and said, I still don't understand why they'd let someone as unstable as Sasuke become a ninja. He didn't even hesitate to sell out Naruto-sama. If I hadn't realized the kind of pain Naruto-sama was in, or recognized that he had been through a hell of his own, I would have tried to kill him for killing Zabuza. Zabuza was all I lived for. When he died, I was lost, without a purpose. Then, when I saw the kind of pain Naruto-sama has endured, I decided that I would serve him and live for his sake. I will always protect him, and I refuse to let any harm befall him, so long as I can help it. I don't even care if I'm not part of Team 10 or even a ninja registered to this village. I'll go everywhere Naruto-sama goes and I'll deal with any problems that may arise. That is a promise. Hinata widened her eyes as she said, For even thinking of harming Naruto-kun, I should kill you. However, Naruto-kun trusts you and seems to value your friendship with him. And, considering you have vowed to serve him, I will place my trust in you. Don't betray it. Haku didn't even flinch. I would never hurt Naruto-sama. If I knew who was responsible for hurting him to the point it shattered his mind, I would hunt them down and slay them all. Naruto-sama has been through far too much, she said, maintaining a stony glare on her face. Hinata scowled at this point and replied, we don't like to talk about that day. Nothing but bad memories. As for harming the ones that broke him, get in line. I'm still waiting for my chance to end the life of the one behind the assault on Naruto-kun. He's a coward and a monster. I thought that by staying close to my target that I'd be able to find some opening to slay him. I wanted to find some kind of weakness I could exploit. I wanted proof of his actions, but he feels no regret for what he has done. He won't drop his guard around even his own family. The man deserves to die. But the monster has hidden behind the same excuse for years. Clan affairs that the Hokage has no business getting involved in. I want to make him suffer before I finally snuff out his wretched life. As Ino listened to Hinata, her eyes widened. Ino was trembling when she was done. You can't mean, your own father? Are you sure? Kiyomi grinned and replied, Haishi may not have done the deed himself, but he was behind it all. He orchestrated the attack, but made sure it couldn't be traced back to him. Without proof of his deeds, and with the excuse that it was clan affairs, the Hokage couldn't act against him. Considering I was there, I saw the whole event. Hinata and I vowed to make that monster pay, no matter what or how long it took. But at this point, Hinata took over and nodded. I had hoped to gain some kind of proof of his wrongdoings so I could take it to the Hokage and convince him to do something about it. But there was none. Hokage-sama knows Haishi is behind it, but he can't act without some definitive proof. So, I decided I would wait until the right moment to strike and eliminate him. But, sadly, I have not found the opening I need just yet. That monster is always on guard and incredibly paranoid. He knows that Kiyomi and I know what he did. He doesn't trust me, or even my sister. The monster is inhuman and deserves death, but I can't find the opening I need. After scowling a little, Ino met Hinata's eyes directly. Can't you use your phase ability to get the drop on him somehow? Hinata shook her head and remarked, my ability is phase walk. I can temporarily shift the planes I walk on and use it to sneak up on my enemies before unleashing a surprise attack. But Haishi knows how it works and is always prepared to strike me down if need be. So sadly, there is nothing I can do at the moment. Hinata sighed softly and turned her gaze from Ino to Kiyomi. I think it's time that I move in with you and Naruto-kun. We'll just have to strike when the opportunity presents itself. Hopefully it is soon. When Kiyomi noticed that Naruto had dozed off in Hinata's arms, she glanced from Hinata to him and grinned a little. Agreed. If we can't find an opening to butcher that monster, then we'll just have to make one. If that means we have to exterminate the entirety of the Hyuga clan, then so be it. I wouldn't lose a wink of sleep over it. After scowling for a while, Ino said, is there anything I can do to help? Naruto-kun has suffered because of that man. He's not. With a sorrowful sigh, she glanced down at her hands and remarked, Naruto-kun is no longer whole because of that monster. I want to help somehow. Haku smiled and replied, me, as well. I know this man must be a formidable opponent, but I will take him down, for Naruto-sama. Kiyomi gave them both a smile before focusing on her beloved Naruto. Thank you. We may be stuck waiting for quite a while, but we will destroy him when we are able. If Minato and Kushina were still alive and they knew what Haishi had done, they would have slain him by now, I'm sure of it. I may be strong enough to finish him off, considering I am the Kyuubi, but I'd rather not have to transform just to kill him. The insignificant insects of this village already fear us enough. I'd rather not give them any more reason to chase Naruto-kun and myself out of the village. No, for now we wait until we can assassinate Haishi. Perhaps there will be an opportunity to do so in the upcoming Chunin exams. We shall just have to wait and see. Before it registered, Ino blinked for a second. That's right, the Chunin exams are being held in Konoha this time, aren't they? Do you think we'll be nominated to participate? Before anyone could respond, Inoichi Yamanaka and Kiyomi's clone entered through the front door. Most likely, your teams will be nominated for the upcoming exams. Inoichi concluded. However, due to Sasuke's punishment, Team 7 will not be participating in the exams. Good. But, Daddy, why are you here? Is something wrong? Stated Ino, grinning at the news. Before turning to face Naruto, Inoichi gave his daughter a gentle pat on the head. He looked at Hinata and said, I know you're probably quite comfortable, But can I ask that you please wake him up? After his daughter nodded in agreement, he explained, I have been asked to talk with Naruto. He has been through a lot recently and needs to speak with a licensed psychiatrist. After giving Naruto a nod, Hinata whispered something in his ear. Inoichi laughed when he sat up straight, his face blushing slightly. Inoichi took a seat on the love seat across from Naruto, deciding it would be best not to inquire about what she had just told him. Naruto, do you want to speak in private? Or are you okay with your friends being here? After surveying everyone, the younger blonde returned his attention to Inoichi. Explosions are forever, friends stay. Inoichi nodded in comprehension and made the decision to start. Naruto, I know you've been through a lot lately. So, I'll start off simple and gradually work up to the bigger questions. Now, from what I understand, Hokage-sama gave you the mission to assassinate Gato and free the people of Waves. When you were given this task, can you tell me how you felt? Naruto looked anxiously down at his hands and scowled a little. Wasn't happy. No happy explosions. Too nervous. Didn't feel right. Inoichi nodded and continued, It's okay, Naruto. Now, when you first arrived in the Land of Waves, you witnessed a confrontation between Kakashi Hatake and Zabuza Momochi. Can you describe what you felt and how you dealt with the situation? I already know the details, but I want to hear it straight from you. Kakashi hurt Ino. Angry explosions. Hurt Kakashi. Hurt Zabuza. They die in angry explosion. I did bad thing. I'm sorry. Naruto said softly, looking around at everyone. Then Sasuke, and Haku, more angry explosions. No one happy, feel bad. With a sorrowful scowl, Haku approached the couch where Naruto was sitting. She embraced her new master and said, It's okay, Naruto-sama. It's okay. Inoichi grinned at the exchange, but he had to keep going. So, he looked into Naruto's eyes once more and said, Thank you, Naruto. Thank you for looking out for my little girl. The elder Yamanaka chuckled softly at Naruto's perplexed expression before choosing to just go on. Now, after that happened, you ended up meeting Tazuna's family. From what I understand, Tsunami's son, a boy named Inari, didn't take too kindly to you. Even after you helped to save his grandfather and the people of the Land of Waves, he still didn't appreciate you. How did this boy make you feel? Naruto looked at him and said, Little boy makes me feel different. Not good. Says I suffer no bad explosions. Haku-chan got mad. Later, little boy praised Sasuke. More bad explosions. Don't like little boy. That's understandable. Now, at this point, Haku guided you and Kiyomi to Gato's lair. If I'm understanding it right, Naraku took over at this point, didn't he? Inoichi said, nodding in comprehension as he glanced at Naruto's nod. As usual, however, you saw and felt everything Naraku did. I'll ask you about that in a moment. After you freed the women and children, killed Gato's men, and commanded your clones to take everything of value, you took Gato to the village and began to torture him. At this point, Sasuke ended Gato's life before you could. Sasuke was being praised as the hero of Waves. With all that happened culminating in Sasuke's actions, how did that make you feel? Did you want to hurt Sasuke? Naruto gave a single nod. People stupid. No good explosions. Sasuke bad. Sasuke didn't. He didn't help people. Too selfish. Too, ego full. Hinata helpfully responded. Egotistical, sweetheart. The word you're looking for is egotistical. Naruto gave her a smile and quickly nodded his head. Egotistical. Yes. Sasuke ego too big. Big head, small heart. Full of anger. Wanted to create big explosions. Get Sasuke out of the way. People praise Sasuke. It hurts. I wanted to help people. Happy explosions. People don't like explosions. Outcast, for hero. It hurts. Inoichi looked at the young man with a sad face. I see. Moving on from that, let's talk about Gato. When you killed Gato's men, were you okay? What was going through your mind at the time? It can't have been easy. The teenager with the spiky hair shook his head and said, Many bad explosions. Feel bad. Really bad. Tears started to fall down his cheeks at this point. Explosions bad. I did many bad things. Murderer. For once, explosions they don't feel right. Cry a lot when alone. Inoichi made some notes on his notepad while Hinata and Haku tried to calm Naruto by giving him hugs. He gazed into Naruto's eyes and scowled piteously. No, Naruto. Your explosions aren't bad. You helped people. Even if the people didn't appreciate what you did, you were still heroic. Sometimes, people are bad, and you do whatever you have to do to protect people and put things right. And I want to thank you for looking after my little girl. No matter what, I'll protect you. Inoichi closed his eyes, set down his notepad, and inhaled deeply before letting it out gradually. He opened his eyes and met Naruto's eyes with seriousness. I know who hurt you, Naruto. I know you don't like to think about the attack, but we need to discuss the circumstances of what happened to you. Haishi ordered the attack. He orchestrated the mob. I still don't understand why he did what he did. However, the truth remains that Haishi hurt you in a very bad way. If you could, would you kill him? Although Kiyomi and Hinata squinted at Inoichi, they held back from speaking at this time. Rather, everyone's attention was now on Naruto, anticipating his words. Naruto could not look anyone in the eyes as he shivered. Revenge not good. But Haishi very bad man. Haishi won't hesitate to do bad things. Protective explosions. To protect, would kill Haishi. I hurt. Hurt very bad. Don't know why. Feels like hurt for no reason. Why? Inoichi nodded his head and replied, I don't know, Naruto. Haishi is a very bad man. If we had some concrete proof, you can bet Hokage-sama would erase Haishi permanently from this world. Softly sighing, he replied, Naruto, I care about you like I would a son. Seeing you hurt, it bothers me a great deal. I swear that if I get any kind of proof that he's the one responsible for what happened to you, I'll deal with him myself. With a smile on her face, Kiyomi said, Thank you, Inoichi. Of course. Now, Naruto, I should have done this earlier, but I'm going to prescribe some antidepressants. They may make you drowsy, but that's normal. I also recommend that you come to see me twice a week for therapy. Kiyomi, at this juncture, he replied, I trust you to ensure Naruto takes his medication. I want you to inform me of any unusual changes in Naruto's behavior or if you're concerned about something that might happen. I also want you to personally escort Naruto to his sessions with me. I don't trust the villagers and I certainly don't trust Haishi not to do anything else. Thank you, Inoichi. I'll be sure to do just that. Where do we go to pick up these pills? Kiyomi said, nodding. Ino interrupted Inoichi before he could respond. I know a good place. I'll go with you to pick up his prescription. Is that okay? Inoichi looked at Naruto once more and said, I'll see you again soon, Naruto. I'm looking forward to hearing good things from you. He grinned at his daughter and said, That's fine. Thank you. Naruto grinned broadly and said, Thank you. Enjoy explosions, to Inoichi. Inoichi walked over to give Naruto a gentle pat on the head after chuckling a little. He then whispered to his daughter, Take care of him, Ino. He's going to need you soon. Ino nodded, gazing into her father's eyes. Of course, Daddy. Naruto-kun needs his friends now more than ever. Her father turned and walked out of the house after giving her a knowing smirk. After he left, Ino noticed that she was blushing a little when she looked at Naruto. Naruto-kun. When you called me, you're Ino-chan. Did that mean what I think it meant? Hinata glanced at her beloved and raised an eyebrow. You're Ino-chan? Do share with the class, would you, darling? Naruto flushed and thought the floor was fascinating at the time. Ino-chan like big explosion. Beautiful, magnificent, I like. Like Ino-chan like you and Kiyomi-chan. Lots of love. Hinata glanced at Ino and grinned. Hear that? Naruto-kun thinks you're special. The ball's in your court, now. Do tell, how do you feel about Naruto-kun? Ino looked at Naruto and flushed. Naruto-kun is very sweet. She said with a charming smile, frowning slightly as she considered her options, but then she said, screw it, and approached Naruto. She straddled her friend and scooted closer until her breasts were pressing into his chest, her face flushing deeper and deeper. She leaned in and kissed him, taking a trembling breath. She discovered that she enjoyed the sensation and intensified the kiss as she did this. A few moments later, they parted, and she licked her lips sensuously, saying, that felt good. You could almost see steam gushing from Naruto's ears due to the intensity of his red face. Very good explosions. Ino-chan. He put his arms around Ino and, with trepidation, started kissing her neck, moving up to her chin, and then kissing her once more. Ino soon became aware of a specific area of Naruto's body pressing against her inner thigh. They both blushed more deeply as a result. Ino decided to be a little brave and started sliding against his hardening erection. She and Naruto continued kissing throughout, both of them engrossed in their moment of unadulterated joy. Ino leaned in and gave Naruto a quick nip on the ear when they eventually parted. From now on, I'm all yours, my dear. I'm giving my love to you, and only you. Naruto gave Ino a tight hug and uttered the words, "Love you, Ino-chan." Giving Naruto another kiss while grinning broadly, Ino exclaimed, "Will you be my boyfriend, Naruto-kun? I want you so bad." Naruto grinned and quickly nodded his head. Yes. He blushed even more, apparently just realizing what Ino was doing with his hardening cock, and then he said, "Ino-chan? Can't concentrate, feels too good." After giving him a sly smile, Ino said, "Don't you want me? Because I know I want you." Hinata and Kiyomi gently pulled the hormonal girl away from their love before Naruto could respond. "Okay, that's enough of that. We can all fuck each other's brains out later. Right now, you and I need to go and pick up Naruto-kun's medication. Besides that, Hinata and I haven't even slept with him yet. Kami knows we want to, but he's too innocent and sweet to take advantage of like that." But Hinata sighed and looked at her boyfriend, licking her lips sensuously while gazing at his rock-hard cock. "I think he wants you bad. I'm sure he'll treat us real well in the bedroom." "Oh yes. I can only imagine how good it will feel," Ino said, laughing to herself. Kiyomi nodded her head in disbelief and, yes, come along, you too. Naruto-kun could use some rest. Hinata, you need to go and pack your things if you want to move in here. Ino, you're welcome to come here whenever you want to be with Naruto-kun. I want you to think hard about whether you want to be with Naruto-kun in a sexual manner. It's not a decision you can take back once you've gone through with it. But he really does cherish you. And he admitted it himself. He loves you dearly. So please be absolutely sure that that is what you want, okay?" Ino glanced back at Naruto and blushed slightly. "Oh, believe me, if I had my way, we'd go for whores. I've never felt so good before." Hinata burst into a perverse giggle. "That sounds nice." Kiyomi grimaced before turning to face Naruto. "Naruto-kun, go and get ready for bed. You look exhausted. You too, come along. Let's leave him alone for now." The three of them left the house, and Naruto watched. Upon their departure, he grinned broadly and exclaimed, happy explosions. So good. Want more explosions?" He laughed to himself as he stood up and proceeded to prepare for bed. After all, he was feeling a little worn out. The Hinata the Hyuga heiress went straight to her room upon entering her house, ignoring everyone else. On the way, she noticed Neji approaching her with a frown on his face. She chose to ignore him and proceeded to pass him, but he stopped her by reaching out. "Hinata-sama. You've been with that fool again, haven't you? Why lower yourself to the level of a common whore for something that should have never been born?" Hinata gazed apathetically at her cousin's eyes. "Huh. And here I thought you couldn't tell a joke. Then again, you would definitely know a joke or two. After all, you're just a giant joke, yourself. You've never mattered to anyone, not even dear Daddy. After all, he abandoned you when you were what, 4 years old? It would seem to me that he knew the failure you'd turn out to be and wanted to wash his hands of you. So sad." Neji gritted his teeth and balled his fists. "You bitch. How dare you mock me?" "Mock you? I'm simply stating facts. But you seem to think I'm the one responsible for what happened to your dear Daddy. I bet you want nothing more than to strike me down. I suppose that, if we were to face each other in the upcoming exams, that would give you the chance you've been waiting for. However, you should remember something." Leaning close to him, she whispered, "I'm your better in every single way. All I have to do is perform one simple act and you would lose our fight. It would be oh so easy to destroy you, and, once you're dead, I wouldn't lose a wink of sleep over it. Do try to keep that in mind before you try anything." Reaching out to kiss him. To pass him. But before Neji could respond, she slammed her knee into his stomach, causing his lungs to collapse. Then she seized him by the face and threw him to the ground. She ignored Neji's anguished groans and proceeded to her room after saying, "Don't push your luck with me, Neji." After returning to her room, she started packing up everything she owned, putting a lot of items in storage scrolls she had made especially for this purpose. Unfortunately, her father barged into her room without warning and gave her a stern look before she could finish packing everything. "Yes, father?" After surveying his daughter's room, he quickly glared at her. "I was informed that you were out with that boy again. Then you hurt your cousin upon returning home. And now I see you packing your things as if you're allowed to leave. Just where do you think you're going?" Regardless of her father's feelings, Hinata proceeded to pack the remainder of her belongings. She gave her father the most ferocious glare he had ever seen when he placed his hand on her shoulder. "If you want to keep your arm, I suggest you remove your hand, father. As for Naruto-kun, I fail to see how that is any of your business. And finally, allowed to leave. I make my own decisions, father. If I want to move out and live elsewhere, that is my prerogative. You cannot stop me. If you dare to try anything more, I will not hesitate to kill you where you stand. You do not scare me and you do not control me. So leave, Haishi. I won't warn you again. Haishi felt a kunai pierce his hand before he could slap his daughter, who was staring into his eyes. Haishi screamed in pain and raw, unrestrained rage as it registered what his daughter had just done. When he struck out with his left fist, he was startled to see it slapped aside before his outstretched arm was deeply sliced. He watched in horror and shock as he felt it fall limp at his side. What? After giving him a devilish grin, Hinata reached up and gave him a pat on the top of the head. After saying, I'll kill you later. Enjoy what time you have left, Haishi. Goodbye. She collected all of her storage scrolls, put them in her pockets, and departed from the compound in her room. She was smiling placidly the whole way to Naruto's estate. It was a wonderful feeling. How long will it take him to recover? I guess it doesn't matter. Kiyomi the Kyuubi decided she had to ask Ino a question after looking into her eyes while Kiyomi and Ino waited for Naruto's prescription to be filled. Sue, why did you feel it was necessary to hump our boyfriend like that, After blushing in shame, Ino turned to face Kiyomi. Can you honestly blame me? I wanted to show him how much I appreciate him and how much I care. I like him. He's so sweet and innocent. I just want to protect him and keep him safe from everything that might try to hurt him. But more than that, kissing him felt right. It felt good. And when I felt that pressing against my leg, I just couldn't help myself. I wanted more. I got horny. I just couldn't help myself. Everything just felt so wonderful and I really wanted to go all the way with him. I've never felt like that before. Kiyomi laughed as she replied, I can imagine. Hinata and I had never thought to really try anything like that. We just wanted to cherish him and shower him with our love. But, we weren't quite sure if it would be okay to take things that far. It would feel like we were taking advantage of him. But, after seeing that, I don't know, the thought is awfully tempting. You've opened up new doors for us, and I'm curious to see where this leads. Can you imagine how good it would feel to have that thing inside you? It was so big. I was ready to take it all the way. I've honestly never felt anything like that before, the young blonde said with a smile to herself. The pharmacist caught their attention and gave them Naruto's prescription before Kiyomi could respond to her giggles. Before Kiyomi and Ino left the building, Kiyomi thanked the woman and made the payment. They started to hear the villagers discussing something that had happened to Haishi as they made their way to Naruto's house. They both scowled a little, wondering what in the world had happened. They stared at each other intently as they listened in. He probably irritated Hinata, Kiyomi remarked. Let's go home. Ino, do you want to come stay with us? You'd be more than welcome to live with us. Ino grinned at her and replied, that sounds really nice. If I do, though, I want to cuddle with Naruto-kun at night. I bet he's really warm. Kiyomi was giggling as she said, cuddling with him does feel nice. You do know Hinata is going to insist on sleeping with him too, don't you? Ino laughed as Kiyomi replied, the more the merrier. Ooh, I wonder what Naruto-kun would think if we slept in kinky lingerie. Just imagine how much fun that would be. Kiyomi started to giggle perversely and couldn't stop herself. Oh, that sounds nice. Definitely. Ino also burst out laughing, and they continued to giggle like a couple of old perverts as they drove home. Council chambers later in an attempt to process what had transpired so soon after the last council meeting, Hiruzen rubbed the bridge of his nose. I am far too old for this kind of nonsense. I might want to consider getting a replacement. I have a terrible headache from this shit. The old Hokage let out a quiet sigh and glanced around at everyone present. The subject of this particular meeting was the one person who was absent. As you all know, Haishi was injured earlier this evening. While we don't know the exact circumstances behind the attack, we do know the one responsible. Inoichi looked at the Hokage and said, Hokage-sama, Haishi more than likely had it coming, especially if he angered the person I'm thinking of. Besides, we know the kind of person he is. And, I'm sure everyone here knows it already, but it's suspected that Haishi is the one behind Naruto's attack that shattered his mind. Hiruzen nodded and continued, Hinata and her new family will be here soon. We'll be able to hear their account of what happened to Haishi. Once we've determined the facts, we'll have to come to a decision about what to do. The truth of the matter is that someone injured a clan head quite severely. Whether this attack was provoked or not, we need to know for sure. Once we have the truth, we will have to come to a decision, as I already stated. The family of four, Naruto, Kiyomi, Hinata, and Ino, came in shortly after, followed by an Anbu. Naruto fidgeted a lot and looked around anxiously as they arrived at the middle of the room. Explosions? He asked, feeling a hand on his shoulder and meeting Kiyomi's eyes. It'll be okay, Naruto-kun. You aren't in any trouble. This is about the man that hurt you. Haishi Hyuga. Kiyomi reassured him. With a nod of comprehension, Naruto remained silent. He didn't need to worry about being in front of all these people, which was already causing him a lot of anxiety. Hiruzen felt a chill go through him as he met Hinata's stony, icy gaze. She is not afraid or regretful. She is a cold woman who has no qualms about killing anyone who irritates her. I think you would have adored this young lady, Kushina, if you could have seen her. Putting those thoughts to rest, he said, Hinata Hyuga, you have been brought before us to discuss the attack on Haishi Hyuga. Please describe to us what caused this attack. What could have warranted such an extreme response? Hinata looked directly into Hiruzen's eyes and never looked away. And a chill went through his body again. As you know already, Hokage-sama, I have been trying to find some kind of proof of Hiashi's wrongdoings. I decided long ago that, if the opportunity presented itself to me, I would kill him. There is no familial love between us. I am just a disappointment in his eyes, and he's a rotten scumbag in mine. I do not care for anyone in that clan. I only remained in the hopes that I could find the proof you needed to end him. She went on, looking around at the other council members. Seeing as he was always on guard and never gave anything away, I decided it was pointless to continue on as I was. So, earlier today, I decided I would move in with Naruto-kun. As I was packing my belongings, Haishi entered my room without my permission and proceeded to lay his hand on me. He had the nerve to tell me that I wasn't allowed to leave. He also attempted to strike me. I acted as I did to both protect myself and make him suffer. I stabbed a kunai through his hand and then sliced open his arm before I took my things and left. I do not care if he loses his arm because of this. I do not feel any remorse. I do not feel any guilt. If you feel the need to punish me for protecting myself, then so be it. It will not change how I feel. He tried to attack you? Are you absolutely certain of this? Hiruzen said with a slight frown. Hinata merely raised an eyebrow, staring at the Hokage incredulously. He tried to prevent me from going to Naruto-kun's side. When she saw the expression on Hiruzen's face, she replied, yes. I am sure. He tried to attack me for standing up to him. I wasn't about to let him hit me like that. He's lucky I didn't do more to him. At least this way, he'll live to see another day. However, he might lose an arm. I do not care either way. Leaning toward Shikaku, Shoza muttered, cold. Shikaku gave his friend a sly smile before focusing on Hinata. True. But she's efficient and deadly as well. It would seem the only person she truly cares for is Uzumaki. Intriguing. Hiruzen went back to rubbing his nose bridge. He muttered under his breath, fucking hell. Alright, I'll buy it. Even still, you have injured a clan head quite severely. Was the severity of his injuries necessary to protect yourself? Or did you cause him as much damage as you did simply because you could? Was it necessary? The stab wound to his hand, perhaps. The gash I left in his arm? I can't be sure. I enjoyed causing him so much harm. I wouldn't hesitate to do so again. Or maybe worse. So I can't be sure if that wound was necessary. If you feel the need to punish me, then so be it. I will not argue or resist. Acknowledged Hinata. The Hokage let out another sigh. Inoichi, would you be willing to check to see if she is telling the truth? Inoichi shook his head and scowled at the Hokage. I won't do it, Hokage-sama. Beside that, I'm quite sure that she's been completely honest with us thus far. If she wanted to lie to us, she wouldn't admit to doing what she did. If anyone is in the wrong, it's Haishi. You and I both know Haishi is the one behind the attack on Naruto back then. You admitted that, if you had proof, you'd have done something about it. Hell, Hinata carried out your orders. She tried to find proof of Hiyashi's evil, and she tried. She only stayed in that home to try and help you and Naruto. So how has that changed? Hiruzen dropped his head onto the table in front of him and continued to strike it repeatedly. Nothing has changed. But I never instructed her to assault him. If it turned out that he was the one responsible, I would have dealt with it appropriately, he said, turning to face Inoichi after finishing. Hinata turned to him and said, and how would you have dealt with it? He could have just hidden behind the clan affairs bullshit again and you wouldn't have been able to do a thing. At least my way, something gets done. Hiruzen raised his head once more and looked directly into Hinata's eyes while he groaned in frustration. You're right. Of course, you're right. But Kiyomi intervened at this juncture and, look, if you want to punish her for hurting her father in self-defense, then do it. You admitted to us that, if you had your way, you'd kill Haishi for his crimes. Can you really blame Hinata for doing as she did? I know what I said. However, doing what she did can have very serious consequences. The elders of that clan can demand she be returned to them so she can be punished appropriately in their eyes. All under the guise of clan affairs. As much as I hate it, that is within their rights to do. Hiruzen clarified. Kiyomi scowled at him and replied, the Hokage's word is law. However, if you're so worried about clan affairs, then explain to them that Hinata has been taken as a ward of the Uzumaki clan. She has Naruto-kun's protection as the last of his line. However, I do see where you're coming from. If you decree a punishment for her, you wouldn't have to deal with that clan affairs bullshit. If they try anything, you can bet your wrinkly old ass that I get involved. I've remained out of it as per your request. But if they try anything, I will destroy them. I can and will destroy that clan. So if you want to protect them, then I suggest you explain that Hinata has Naruto-kun's protection as the head of his clan. Inoichi spoke up before Hiruzen could respond in any way. I will claim Hinata to be under the protection of my clan. If they don't like it, then they can piss off. I won't let them lay a finger on her. If they dare try to brand her with their abomination of a seal, then I hope you're ready, because I'll help Kiyomi-san to kill those monsters. If you ask me, Haishi got off easy this time. Child abuse is something I absolutely will not tolerate. Are you sure this is what you want to do? What if they decide it's worth trying to annihilate your clan to get to her? Hiruzen scowled at him. Kiyomi laughed and said, then they will be exterminated. I suggest you stress that fact to them. You cannot control me or my actions, Hokage. If I decide to annihilate them, there is nothing you can do to stop me. The third let out a deep sigh and replied, very well. I would prefer to avoid conflict of this nature, but I'll go along with your decision, all of you. Still, Hinata needs to know that she can't just act out in such a manner whenever someone makes her angry. Hinata raised her eyebrows and replied, I didn't do this out of anger, Hokage-sama. Haishi tried to hit me, so I retaliated. I may enjoy causing him harm, but I could have done so much worse. You know I'm right. If I was truly angry, I would have killed him. In fact, if he angered me enough, I would have made him completely unrecognizable. And I would have done it all with a smile on my face. If I had the power when I was younger and I learned of his attack on Naruto-kun, I'd have killed him then and there. I'd like to think that I've shown considerable restraint so as not to act out against him for all these years. Still, if you feel the need to punish me for protecting myself, then do it. As I've stated before, I'll take any punishment you wish to give me. I simply do not care. After a moment of staring into Hinata's eyes, Hiruzen shook his head. No, you will not be punished. A punishment wouldn't have any true effect in this case. The whole point behind punishing someone is to show them that what they did is not okay. It is to help them learn their lesson. You feel no remorse for your actions. You do not believe yourself to be in the wrong. And I'm inclined to agree with you. Haishi will make a full recovery according to the doctors operating on him, so that is another reason you are not being punished for your actions. Just try not to make a habit of this kind of behavior. Hinata gave the Hokage a blank stare. I reserve the right to punish people how I see fit if they threaten me or, more importantly, my darling Naruto-kun. And, considering the Chunin exams are coming up soon, do you really want me to take it easy when confronted with people that are trying to inflict bodily harm upon myself or Naruto-kun? Hiruzen said angrily, now you're just twisting my words around. I'm going to trust you to act accordingly from now on. I just hope you don't abuse that trust. After giving the Hokage a brief smirk, the young lady turned around and walked out of the room with her beloved Naruto-kun and Ino. After they had left, Kiyomi met the Hokage's eyes directly. Why go through this farce? You knew from the beginning that Hinata was telling the truth. You also knew that she wouldn't care. So why? What point were you trying to prove? Hiruzen looked calmly into Kiyomi's eyes and said, I wanted to test her resolve. If she's going to be with Naruto-kun and protect him, I needed to know that she was strong enough to do so. I needed to see for myself how far she was willing to go. I never intended to sell her out to the elders of that clan. As far as I'm concerned, she did the right thing and I'm proud of her for it. Now it's my turn to act. I'll deal with those rotten piles of feces. As for Haishi, I don't care if he makes a full recovery or not. I just wish I had been there to see it for myself. I have not forgiven him, nor have I forgotten his actions. One day soon, Haishi will die. I just hope I live to see that day. Kami knows I'd love to be the one that buries him, but I may not get that chance. So, I'm counting on you and Hinata to finish that bastard whenever the opportunity presents itself. I don't care if there are witnesses to the event, nor do I care what happens to anyone that sides with that monster. I want him dead. Kiyomi laughed wickedly and replied, "It will be done, Hokage. Just don't go making any plans to die before it happens. I want you to see it when I hang that bastard by his entrails." Kiyomi laughed and waved goodbye to Hiruzen and the others before leaving the room. "I think I'll gladly live until I see that day. Don't make me wait too long, though. I'm not getting any younger." Hiruzen laughed to himself. With a chuckle on his face, Hiruzen turned to face Inoichi after she had left. "Sue, how does it feel to know your daughter is going to be in a relationship with Naruto-kun?" Inoichi laughed softly and replied, "If it's what she wants, then I give her my blessing. I just hope she doesn't plan to give me grandchildren too soon. Then again, she is like her mother in that regard. She knows what she wants and she'll go for it, regardless of what anyone else might think." Hiruzen laughed and asked, "Didn't Setsuna get pregnant before you were married? Don't be surprised if Ino takes things to that step with him. If you're concerned about it, then I suggest you remind her of the contraceptive technique before it happens. We both know that Hinata won't care enough to use it. She'd be more than happy to carry Naruto's children." Inoichi palmed his face and sighed. "So true. I'll be sure to remind Ino about that particular technique. I just hope she uses her best judgment." Hiruzen merely gave Inoichi a knowing smirk. "Does anyone have anything else they'd like to discuss? If not, I think we all should go home and get some sleep. It's way too late in the day to be dealing with this shit," he said, turning to face the other council members. The members of the civilian council shook their heads in rapid succession. They learned to prudently keep their mouths shut following the previous council meeting. No one was going to question it, even though it was something of a miracle. As a result, the clan heads gave a negative shake when Hiruzen looked at them. "I have no more concerns. As far as I'm concerned, Haishi got what he deserved," said Sume Inuzuka. Hiruzen gave a nod, then got up to dismiss the council members. He went back to his office after they were all gone, sat down in his chair, got his pipe, prepared it, and lit it. He took a shaky puff from his pipe, held it in for a second, then let the smoke out in one long puff. "For all of this, I'm far too old. Perhaps we should remember Tsunade. She has spent enough time wallowing in her own misery. She would make an excellent Hokage if she could overcome her fear of blood. I'll have to persuade Jiraiya to accept the position if it's not her. All I can hope is that the pervert doesn't try to enforce a dress code for the kunoichi or anything." After giving it some more thought, he groaned and muttered to himself, "He'd do worse. Damned pervert."
So this was the end of the series. I hope you enjoyed it. To watch more series like this, subscribe to my channel. Till then, we weeb offline.